Having had their fill of food and drink, everyone, except for Hao Jian, rubbed their bellies and had a contented look on their faces. Blessed, so blessed. The sky was getting dark, and because it was such a rare occasion that everyone went camping together, none of them felt sleepy. They laid on the grass and casually chatted with each other, gazing up at the stars from time to time. It was incredibly relaxing. College life was good. OFCK, little Jen, who had been playing with his mobile phone, cried out in shock all of a sudden. He sat up immediately and said, "FCK man, Chen Xiaoyan is eliminated from China's Top Voice?" What? Everyone was still wide awake, and they quickly sat up and browsed through their phones. FCK, it's true. Why is Chen Xiaoyan eliminated when she has such a good voice? Something shady must be going on. FC can hell, this garbage show should eat a pile **T. They're all stupid CNTS. How could they eliminate someone like Chen Xiaoyan? They're digging their own grave. Is China's Top Voice going crazy? The girls could not hold in their anger. The semifinal of China's Top Voice was ongoing that day, and only 2 out of 5 contestants could advance. However, Chen Xiaoyan was the best among the eliminated trio. However, the 2 that advanced had nothing to show in terms of their singing skills. Yi Lingchen frowned slightly. He did not go and watch the show live, and it surprised him that Chen Xiaoyan was eliminated. The news had already spread on Weibo, occupying most of Weibo's trending searches. Chen Xiaoyan was eliminated. Dirty tricks in China's Top Voice. Hong Na does not acknowledge Chen Xiaoyan's voice. Clicking on one of the trending searches, Chen Xiaoyan's sullen mood was obvious from the photography. She was despondent when stepping off the stage. In addition, the comment section exploded. There was a flood of comments lambasting and boycotting China's Top Voice. At that point, a classmate had already clicked one of the leaked videos. Hong Na sat in the judge's seat. Her face was unsavory and she said, "Your voice isn't any good, but your arrogance is incredible. If you can't show the most basic of respect to others, there's no way you will get my approval. This stage is not yours, please leave." As a public figure who was still live on the show, the sentence was much too unkind and extremely ruthless. It caused the atmosphere to heat up immediately, with the audience making their dissatisfaction heard. Still, the matter had been decided. Gao Wen sighed. Hong Na is obviously targeting Chen Xiaoyan. China's Top Voice has one rule. When entering the finals, the judge has the right to use their veto, but that right is generally not exercised. But Hong Na, she made sure that Chen Xiaoyan was directly eliminated. A right to veto? There's such a thing? What kind of stupid rule is that? China's Top Voice is a load of crap? I don't care about that. I'm just worried about what will happen to Chen Xiaoyan. All of them were Chen Xiaoyan's fans, surprisingly. They each did their best to vent out the injustice on behalf of Chen Xiaoyan, and their faces were red with anger. Damn it, she's really eliminated. I won't ever watch China's Top Voice again. Yeah, this is too fake. The video of Chen Xiaoyan during the competition is already being shared around. It was the same new song, the one Y wrote for her. If it's another new song from Y, then it's definitely another classic. Y is talented. Come on, hurry up and play it. I found it too. The name of the song is Light Years Away. Everyone, hush. They all kept quiet and let the music gradually fill the night sky. Feeling the fingertips touching my hair, how a moment freezes time. Remembering a pair of eyes looking steadily at me. Fate had us meet beyond a chaotic world, destiny made us fall in love and amidst crisis. Maybe in the future, light years away everything is uncertain, but I'm willing to wait for you. Chen Xiaoyan's voice was ethereal and powerful while the lyrics were contagious. It did not take long for everyone to be captivated. This song was magnetic, and after the music was over, everyone could still hear it playing on repeat inside their minds. It was practically impossible to resist humming the tune. It sounds amazing. I really can't believe 2 pieces of **T eliminated such a good song. Damn, I'm about to cry. How can such a good song be eliminated? Chen Xiaoyan must be suffering right now. It's too unfair. What masterpieces did Hong Na write? Her voice isn't even half as powerful as Chen Xiaoyan's, but she used her right to veto to reject Chen Xiaoyan. Most importantly, Chen Xiaoyan's song was an original creation. Y wrote that song. And it doesn't matter which Y, they're all my number 1 idol. No, I want to support Chen Xiaoyan, and Y I want to contribute something to my idols, no matter how small my contributions may be. Yes, let Capital's TV station see our united resolution. Yeezy, come along too. One word. Execute. Zhang's fighting spirit was soaring high. After a night of simmering, the hullabaloo intensified instead of dying off. Hordes of people voiced their dissatisfaction on behalf of Chen Xiaoyan. However, many cyber troopers began appearing on Weibo to attack Y and Chen Xiaoyan. They supported Hong Na and helped to wipe her slate clean. Miss Na, you are no doubt the most amazing female singer, I support you. It'll be a joke if the face of China's top voice isn't qualified to teach her junior a lesson. I remember Y saying that seniors are meant to be surpassed by their juniors. Arrogant, much, you think you'll be where you are without Miss Na? Miss Na maintains her self-respect. Chen Xiaoyan's attitude is a sign of disrespect toward her. Doesn't that give Miss Na the right to teach her a lesson? Yi Lingchen scrolled through Weibo and was surprised that Chen Xiaoyan did not send him any private messages. After a moment of contemplation, he decided to send her a message. You there? The screen showed that she was typing, but she then deleted the text. She typed again and then deleted her text again. It was evident that she was confused. In the end, she finally replied. I'm sorry. What pained her most was not the elimination, but the feeling of being unable to face Yi Lingchen. She felt that she had not done justice to Y's new song and was afraid of disappointing him. You did very well. China's top voice is just a platform for you to show your talent. You sang my song perfectly, thank you. Really? Yes, really, you don't blame me at all? Not at all. At the same time, those behind the scenes of China's top voice were under tremendous pressure. Director Zhou, what should we do? Our show has sparked public outrage. The right to veto was a rule that existed since the beginning of the show. If we do a U-turn now, it's a slap to our own faces. We'd be offending Hong Na too. Director Zhou had a displeased expression. We can't afford to offend either side. It's already reached this point, so we simply do nothing and pretend we don't know anything. Director Zhou, I think it's better to have a repechage or something, or at least apologize to Chen Xiaoyan. Director Zhou was silent for a moment before shaking his head. That's not a concern anymore. The elimination is already done. Just let it stand. He hardly expected Hong Na to use her right to veto on Chen Xiaoyan. If he knew that earlier, he would have scrapped it altogether. As things stood, it was already too late to say anything. He was caught in the crossfire and neither side warranted ingratiation. It was not worth it at all to offend Hong Na just for Chen Xiaoyan. It would be better to bury his head in the ground like an ostrich and just wait for everything to pass. The furor in Weibo continued heating up. Everyone thought that the show's production team would consider the opinions of the masses and give Chen Xiaoyan another chance. That chance, however, never came. Chen Xiaoyan was eliminated for real. Yi Lingchen logged into Singer Y's Weibo, and as expected, a lot of messages appeared, many of which were people showing their displeasure at him. The song you wrote was eliminated. Yi Lingchen pursed his lips. Regardless of what reason it was, even a prodigy like him could feel the heat on his face. It was rather embarrassing. It appeared that Singer Y still carried little weight in the eyes of some people. His eyes narrowed slightly. He clicked on the original songs page of QQ Music, applied to become a singer, and recorded his original songs. The name he registered as a singer was Y. After fine-tuning the melody, he was ready to start. Yi Lingchen was ready to start singing. The entire plan had already existed previously, but it was brought forward ahead of its schedule. Judging by the current trend of things, it might prove to have a positive impact on his popularity. Yi Lingchen was naturally good at singing and had already achieved full proficiency. He had perfect control of emphasis, pause, timbre, and tone. Although he was born with the voice he had and could not change it anymore, it was by no means unmelodious to the ear. At a stretch, his 5 classes of initial consonants in Chinese phonetics were considered fairly adequate, and there was no issue whatsoever with his skills. Yi Lingchen took a deep breath and slowly calmed himself down. A serene and somewhat undulating voice began to unfurl from his mouth. Some people travel the world, some people work hard their whole life. Some people sweet talk, and some have long been numb. Some people think the poor love the rich, some people only think of money. Some people are careful, some, they just don't care. Some people change themselves to try and stand out. Some people hide away from prying eyes around. Some people are devils but pretend to be saints. Some people love blindly, but some can't see at all. Some give their everything, some don't say a thing. Yi Lingchen's voice was magnetic. His mood shifted as the song progressed. There was calmness at times and then an occasional hint of anger. All those feelings blended perfectly with the melody and lyrics. He was the composer of the song, so there was no need to foreshadow anything. He could devote himself wholeheartedly to it. At a duration of 4:21, the recording was complete. It was titled, Some People. Yi Lingchen directly clicked upload without listening to it. The upload was done quietly. No one knew about it and Yi Lingchen did not actively promote it. It was like a stone thrown into the big sea. It did not set off any waves. It lay in wait amongst countless songs, biding time until it stood out. Yi Lingchen paid little attention to it and logged out of the recording platform. Behind the scenes of QQ Music, several employees were discussing the latest songs together. They were all music editors who were responsible for reviewing the songs. A great number of new songs had to be reviewed to eliminate music that was vulgar or of low quality. At the same time, music deemed to have potential would be selected and promoted on the platform. Such songs had the potential to become a hit. The job of reviewing was boring, so they often discussed in a group and gossiped on occasion. Little Chen was one of the employees. At that time, he was uploading to Chaser of the Light, Boundless Sea and Sky, and Light Years Away. The copyright of those three songs had been purchased by QQ Music. Little Chen was also a fan of Chen Xiaoyan. He played those three songs while they were uploading. Such a pity for Chen Xiaoyan. She sang so well, but she was eliminated and asked to leave. China's Top Voice is a really stupid show. Exactly, I don't know why Hong Na would target Chen Xiaoyan. They didn't clash with each other before this. What else could it be if not for jealousy? Hong Na's famous for being petty. She definitely felt uncomfortable that a junior might surpass her. Chen Xiaoyan's known as the Little Empress of Heaven and had snatched away her fame. How could Hong Na not hate that? Women like Hong Na are plain disgusting. She's well past her prime but she still wants to target her juniors and do such stupid things. Thank goodness these three songs were bought by QQ Music. Say, how high up the ranking do you think they'll reach when we release them? From the way I see it, at least the top 10. It'll be more than that. Although Chen Xiaoyan was eliminated, things are still getting heated up. These three songs might even take all top 3 spots. Hiss, everyone inhaled sharply. That was a crazy thought to entertain. However, it was not impossible at all. If those songs dominated the first 3, Chen Xiaoyan was not that far off from being an Empress of Heaven. China's Top Voice would probably be dying of regret. Ha ha ha, that'll be the best. I like Chen Xiaoyan very much anyway, and I support her fully. Not only Chen Xiaoyan, but Y too. Having said that, these Y guys are mysterious, but they're all amazingly skilled. They make everyone look up to them. Yeah, but these Ys are all my idols. Each one is more badass than the other. As they were chatting away, little Chen was slightly stunned. He looked at the screen and snickered, I can't believe someone is trying to take advantage of the Y name. FCK. Who is this guy? He has the decency to call himself Y? This is an insult to my idol. I'm so going to reject his application. Some people, that's the title of his song? It's probably gonna be crap? Let's just follow protocol and listen to it. The auditors started listening with the mindset that they were just taking the song for a spin. They even made preparations if it turned out to be auditory assault. After all, such instances did occur sometimes. The music played gradually, first the prelude, then the lyrics. Some people go with the wind, while others spend their life working hard. A very calm voice started the song, but it was the lyrics that moved everyone. Those lyrics sounded rather wonderful. Little Chen was prepared to close the song, but he slowly began to retract his hand and listen quietly. Some people sweet talk, and some, they've long been numb. Some people think the poor love the rich, while others only think of profit. Some people are careful, some, they just don't care. The voice was ever so calm and it made everyone's heart thump. The melody touched the deepest parts of the hearts and they resonated deeply with it. At that exact moment, it was like they were watching a person's life. People numbered in the tens and thousands, each with their own different attitudes. Who could express them in their entirety? That song, however, sang of every kind of person. No wonder the song was named Some People. It was a very fitting title. Gradually, there was an urgency in the calm voice. It was not very high-pitched, but it had dynamism, filled with unwillingness, praise, anger, and frustration. Some people change themselves to try and stand out. Some people hide away from prying eyes around. Some people are devils but pretend to be saints. Every kind of person in the world was mentioned, none was left out. Little by little, little Chen and the group began to feel a moistness in their eyes. Tears had blurred their vision. They seemed to see themselves within the song. Were they not one of those mentioned too? Entering society, bowing down to everyone else, trying hard to reach for success. What did they end up turning into? The song gradually came to an end, and the voice became sonorously soft. A burst of bitter waves overcame them steadily, leaving little Chen and Co. with a chill down their spine. Some people smile during the day to swoon the rich and powerful, only to pour out their dreams after a drunken night. Waking up to continue their daily grind, day after day, but never knowing how they would look back at everything when old age comes. Some people regret it, some people are lucky to forget it all. Some people emotional, you and I, were nothing but dust. At the conclusion of the song, everyone in the entire audit room fell silent. They were still immersed in the voice and were unable to extricate themselves from it. That was breathtaking. It took quite a while for little Chen to come to his senses. His eyes were full of tears and he looked a little lost. That voice. Was incredible. Regardless of which angle one viewed the song, it was a nearly impeccable creation. As editors, they were extremely aware when it came to songs, and the singer of some people had a strong grasp of singing skills and rhythm, more so than presently popular singers. The standard was heavenly. The lyrics were profound and it was an absolute masterpiece. This is the work of God. It's truly a work of God. This song is so well written. Some editors had already burst into tears and sobbed uncontrollably. Is this song really written by Y? Little Chen suddenly asked. The question immediately imparted solemnity to the atmosphere. In terms of ability, there was no other person that could compare to Y. It was too amazing, too earth-shattering. OFCK. That's entirely possible. This is definitely in response to Hong Na. Retaliation. He's retaliating. Y is so awesome, he's worthy of being my idol. Every single action he takes is just so personal. So, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and release it. Little Chen and others were red with excitement. They uploaded it immediately and sent out push notifications to recommend some people. A new song titled, Some People, emerges on the horizon. Did Y write and sing it himself? The recommendation was plain and wholly unremarkable. However, that was what it was. Within any platform, recommendation spots were extremely few and everything had to be taken step by step. Starting from scratch, it was already good enough that some people managed to be promoted directly. Despite that, little Chen was not at all worried. As insignificant as the recommendation may be, Y's reputation alone was practically on par with any form of promotion. Above Chen Xiaoyan's 3 songs were a large promotional banner. Chen Xiaoyan's ethereal voice, and a classic from Y Don't Miss It. After the 4 songs were uploaded, they had a hunch that there was going to be an impending storm in QQ Music. Yi Lingchen attended class as usual on Monday. The minute he stepped into the classroom, everyone's eyes fell on him. The emotions within those gazes were extremely complex. Yi Lingchen could surely be considered an influential figure. Previously, Yi Lingchen was regarded as being able to hold his own and was very strong, but it was not enough to attract too much attention. His prestige only began rising exponentially after the basketball games and the recent trip. As of then, he was no longer an ordinary student. He became a bad SS student who was adept at everything and was simply too FC King cool. In addition to being the idol of many male classmates, many girls looked to him as their Prince Charming, much to all the other boys' envy. When he went to his seat, little Jen and the other 2 shot Yi Lingchen weird looks. Their eyes were filled with resentment. What's wrong? Is there a flower on my face? Yi Lingchen smiled. Yeezy, you're hot property now. I'm a little jealous of you, little general remarked nonchalantly. Yeezy, is it possible for you to keep control of your excellence a bit? Otherwise, how do you expect DCK hair like us to continue living? Yeezy, you have our university's beauty queen Li Mushui. Don't grab the others from us. We stayed single for so long and it's really hard on us. The 3 of them fired remarks one after another as if they suffered terribly. Yi Lingchen touched his nose. What the hell is going on? Talk like a human. Little General took a deep breath and gritted his teeth. He reached into his drawer and produced a box. The box was not too big, but it was filled with stuff. There were envelopes, cards, and plenty of other exquisite gifts. What's going on? Yi Lingchen was dumbfounded. These are all love letters for you, Potato said with a sour lip. Your abilities are now known across campus. You know basketball, martial arts, and your cooking is so delicious. It's only natural that many girls are attracted to you, Sean said. You don't live on campus too, so of course it is up to us to pass all these things to you. Yi Lingchen shook his head and smiled bitterly. Did he just become the most sought-after guy in school? You're lucky they don't know about you being a rich kid. Otherwise the whole school would probably explode. Little General said with some luck, Yeezy, we didn't read these letters. I suppose that says something about us. During their conversation, several girls in the class stood up and came over with a small card in their hands. Yi Lingchen, this is for you. The girl's face was bashfully red. She lined up to place it in Yi Lingchen's hand, then walked away quickly. Snap! Yi Lingchen seemed to have heard the sound of countless shattered hearts and grinding teeth. How overwhelmed by favor he was. Every girl was quite amazing. There were pretty daughters from humble families, cuties, and helpless-looking ones, all of whom were the crushes of many boys. During that moment, they lined up to send love letters to Yi Lingchen. The scene truly incited hostility. Fortunately, the whole school knew that he was good at fighting. Otherwise, it might well be the case that someone would drag him to the rooftop at night. Curious, he opened an envelope. Yi Lingchen, I like you, let's get together. Then another one. Yi Lingchen, I lost to a truth or dare session with my roommates. Can you add me on WeChat? My WeChat ID is *********. He took another letter. Yi Lingchen, I am your senior and I'll be graduating soon. Although I am not as pretty as Li Mushui, I'm really hot. Would you like to try and leave me with an unforgettable night? Phone number 1398 *******. In addition to envelopes, there were many small gifts, including small stuffed bears, emotional music boxes, and even roses. Everything was given under the assumption that Li Mushui was Yi Lingchen's girlfriend. If they knew that Yi Lingchen was single, perhaps things would turn out to be more theatrical. Being too outstanding was also a bane. Yi Lingchen's heart began feeling empty. He always had the feeling that countless girls paid attention to him silently or talked about him behind his back, crushing on him and constantly figuring out how to deceive him into making him theirs. He was under the impression that those girls eyed him covetously, like a female demon looking at the Tang the monk, itching to tear off his clothes and fool around with him. He could not help but shiver subconsciously. It was too frightening. Girls were just too scary. Boys should be mindful of their own safety when walking outside. 2 days later, Yi Lingchen received a call from Zhang He. The contract procedures were almost complete. All that was left for Yi Lingchen to do was show up, have his photograph taken, and obtain his basketballer ID. Yi Lingchen agreed. He found time after his class to catch a bus to the stadium. When he arrived at the stadium, Zhang Yi welcomed him at the door and led him directly to the Basketball Association's second-floor office. Yi Lingchen, please face the camera. We just need your profile to be entered into the computer for all the information to be recorded. Zhang Yi said with a smile. He was happy at himself for successfully recruiting a basketball star. China's basketball truly had hope of rising in the near future. Click. With the flash of light, the photography session was done. The staff sorted the materials on the computer, and entered Yi Lingchen's information one by one, registered them in their records. Zhang Yi later took out the contract. Everything took effect automatically once he uploaded a picture of the contract signed with Yi Lingchen. The formalities were thus officially completed. At that moment, however, sounds of hurried footsteps were heard coming toward them. The next moment, someone then pushed open the office door and everyone was stunned when they saw who it was. Pan Heng barged in with a red face and angry-looking eyes. A middle-aged, bespectacled man was following behind him. The man's square face was inundated with sternness, making others feel very much intimidated by his calm yet august temperament. Teacher, President Chen. Why are you here? A hint of surprise flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes and he exclaimed in consternation. Qin Yuan, the president of the Chinese Basketball Association and the head of the basketball department of the General Administration of Sports, was no doubt a leader in the basketball industry. The development of China's basketball was closely linked to his support and supervision. If we didn't come, who knows how this association will end up in your hands? Pan Heng was practically roaring. He glared at Zhang He and said, I invited President Chin here. I don't have students like you. I'm ready to punish one of my own today if justice demands it. Teacher, you must have misunderstood. Misunderstanding. My foot. Pan Heng's eyes widened. He grabbed the contract from Zhang He without so much as a single word. Why did you sign a contract with this person? What has the basketball association turned into? Who's going to believe that there's nothing fishy going on in this? After he finished speaking, he handed the contract over to Qin Yuan. President Qin adjusted his glasses. His eyes were gleaming, but after perusing it page by page, his already serious face became even gloomier, and his brows unwittingly knitted into a frown. President Zhang, please explain yourself. Qin Yuan's eyes looked directly at Zhang He and his voice was a little cold. You've committed a gross violation of the regulations. This is an abuse of power, and if you can't give me a reasonable explanation, I'll report it to the relevant department. President Qin, Yi Lingchen is really a basketball genius. I've seen it with my own eyes. He can definitely shoulder the aspirations of China's basketball. Zhang He's eyes were overflowing with sincerity. Give Yi Lingchen some time. He will definitely prove it to you. Stubborn, I can't believe you're so stubborn now. Pan Heng was so angry that his hair was standing on end. 30 years of my life have been dedicated to China's basketball. Do you think I can't tell if a person is suitable or not to play basketball? I only see arrogance in this kid. There's nothing good about him. This contract is a joke. At the end of his sentence, he was so angry that he balled up the contract and threw it into the trash can. Teacher, Zhang He immediately became anxious and there was utter panic in his voice. President Zhang, your actions are much too disappointing. Qin Yuan shook his head. I will make an application to the higher-ups to temporarily relieve you of the president's post. If that's the case, then forget it. Yi Lingchen, who had remained quiet throughout, suddenly made a remark. He had an indifferent expression as if the matter had nothing to do with him at all. When he finished speaking, he lifted his legs and walked out of the door without any fond memory. He walked down the second floor swiftly and headed straight to the gate. Student Yi Lingchen, wait, Zhang He froze momentarily before running out frantically and shouting anxiously from behind. Yi Lingchen, wait a moment. Zhang Yi lurched forward and stood in front of Yi Lingchen to stop him. By then, Zhang Yi's voice was already a little hoarse. Student Yi Lingchen, my teacher has a bit of a bad temper, but he's really devoted his life to China's basketballers. I'll make it up to you. I hope you understand. He subsequently looked at Pan Heng and Qin Yuan, then said decisively, it doesn't matter if you relieve me of my position, but please let Yi Lingchen join the basketball association. I did not make an error in judgment. Teacher, you had to trust your student. That. A look of surprise appeared everyone's faces. Pan Heng, in particular, had a rapid change of expression. What reason was worthy of such fanaticism from Zhang He? How did the kid get such acknowledgement from President Zhang? Zhang He, you really have gone mad. Wake up, Pan Heng sighed in befuddlement. President, what's wrong with you? President, it's not worth all that trouble for this guy. President, are you suggesting that neither of us are on this kid's level? The players in the court were similarly dumbfounded. Every single one showed anger and displeasure. Zhang He was their president and had always assumed the role of a judge. He was strict and responsible. He was both their judge and their friend. Why did he become like that just for an ordinary kid? From their point of view, it was inevitable that they would feel uncomfortable with it. Traces of jealousy were accompanied by dissatisfaction and discontent. President Zhang, thank you for your admiration, but since I don't have that good of a relationship with the association anyway, we'll part ways here. Yi Lingchen said plainly and smiled. You're a good basketball coach. At the conclusion of his sentence, he lifted his foot off the ground and was ready to leave. Swoosh at that moment, a basketball left a residual image in the air and sliced through the air, hurtling straight toward Yi Lingchen's direction. The ball moved at extreme speed, and it was obvious that someone threw it over intentionally. Yi Lingchen cocked a brow and caught it with one hand. Thump! He needed only one hand to receive the ball and hold it in his palm. Did he actually catch it? Everyone was stunned. Pan Heng and Qin Yuan exchanged shocked looks at each other and began to re-evaluate Yi Lingchen. The throw was quite a strong one, and an average person would likely dodge it and be wary of catching it too firmly. However, Yi Lingchen's feet did not move an inch, yet he could easily grab the basketball with only one hand. His technique and mentality were absolutely extraordinary. Hey, last time you said I was unworthy of being your opponent? Captain Qian Sen sauntered over and stared straight at Yi Lingchen. I really want to see what makes you so precious to the president. If you've got what it takes, let's have a showdown. Showdown? Everyone's attention was focused on one spot and the atmosphere of the entire court became serious. The Basketball Association's players even clenched their fists unwittingly and had impassioned looks on all their faces. Looks like Captain really is angry this time. The kid might probably find it embarrassing to keep on refusing now. I don't believe that guy can really play basketball. Captain will crush and humiliate him. President may have been scammed by a conman. It's time to expose the conman's true face. The players clearly had a lot of confidence in Qian Sen and could not resist muttering a remark or two. Pan Heng's eyes lit up too. That sounds good. Let Zhang have a good look at what he's doing. Yeah, he has taken the bull by the horns but has no way out anymore. As long as Qian Sen teaches that Yi Lingchen a lesson, Zhang Yi will be able to have a good look at reality. Qin Yuan nodded and then said, he's lost his mind because he's hoping too much for a rise in China's basketball. Sigh, when I was his teacher, there's one phrase that I always emphasized. Taking things one step at a time. The most important thing in basketball is the foundation. The effort is more important than talent. Don't dream of quick success. He obviously didn't listen. There was a hint of bitterness in his face, and it was incredibly uncomfortable to watch his once excellent disciple change so drastically. Rising stars in basketball are never easy to find, yet he pinned his hopes on an unremarkable young man. He's delusional, Qin Yuan said. Zhang Yi trembled and looked at Yi Lingchen with a hint of pleading in his eyes. It was as though he was yearning for Yi Lingchen to give it another shot. Yi Lingchen glanced at Qian Sen nonchalantly. The latter's combative look elicited a smile from the former. Thump, thump, thump. The basketball landed on the ground and produced a series of sounds. Yi Lingchen dribbled the ball casually and remarked, if you want to fight, let's fight. By the time he finished talking, he had already dribbled the basketball to the center of the court. Qian Sen sneered and walked into the court. Standing at a height of 1.93 meters, Qian Sen was exceptionally tall. He had an obvious advantage when he stood beside Yi Lingchen and two of them were on vastly different levels. Their height difference is too extreme. It's surely a one-sided affair if they compared their basketball skills. That guy doesn't look like he's made for being a basketball player, but he actually took Captain's challenge. Yeah, Captain is holding in his anger now. Maybe he'll torture the guy. I'm starting to pity the kid. At the same time, Pan Heng and Qin Yuan had already come down from the second floor. They shot Yi Lingchen a wry look, as though they already foresaw how everything was going to turn out. I apply for special training with the martial arts division every year, just for the sake of basketball. All to develop my explosiveness and jump strength to its fullest. You? On what grounds are you comparing yourself with me? Qian Sen's eyes were like a knife. With this showdown, I'll show the president how wrong he is. Yi Lingchen looked calm and said, cut all the crap. Hurry up and start, I'm pressed for time. Oh, don't worry, the game will end very quickly, Qian Sen said coldly. Dribbling is the foundation of basketball. How about we start with dribbling? Yi Lingchen nodded nonchalantly. It did not matter much to him. He tossed the ball casually to Qian Senator, you first. Hee, sure. Thump, thump, thump. On the court, the sound of the basketball hitting the floor became louder all of a sudden. Qian Sen lowered his stance and bounced the basketball quickly. His eyes were like that of a tiger, eyeing each and every one of Yi Lingchen's moves. He did not dribble too fancily, but the muscles in his body were already tensed up, while all of his nerve endings were heightened to maximum sensitivity. Whatever the circumstance might be, he was able to react quickly and keep the ball in his possession. Yi Lingchen kept still and merely looked at him indifferently. He seemed to be watching Qian Sen rather than defending. Thump, thump, thump. The sound of the basketball's bounces resonated in everyone's hearts. The two guys made only the simplest of movements, yet that alone was sufficient to impart uneasiness into the atmosphere. Does he not know how to defend? He's just going to stand there? What is Qian Sen doing? Why not break through such a simple line of defense? Many players gulped involuntarily and watched on nervously. However, if one took a closer look, tiny beads of sweat were already forming on Qian Sen's forehead during that brief passing moment. Deep down, he was under a tremendous amount of pressure when facing Yi Lingchen, much more than what any onlooker could see. Although Yi Lingchen was merely standing there, in Qian Sen's eyes, Yi Lingchen's figure seemingly grew bigger and bigger. In the end, it felt like a mountain was blocking him. Yi Lingchen was obviously not as tall as he was, but that was the kind of illusion that Qian Sen saw. The various possibilities of dribbling past Yi Lingchen swirled in Qian Sen's mind. However, each of the scenarios returned the same answer: impenetrable. Yi Lingchen's defense was impenetrable. At that moment, all his skills seemed to be for naught, as he was unable to dribble past Yi Lingchen. Once this sensation came into being, it could no longer disappear. In fact, it intensified, as if attempting to make him collapse. Thump, thump, thump. Finally, Qian Sen accelerated his dribbles and lowered his gaze. He did not believe it, he had to dribble past Yi Lingchen. The next moment, his figure leaned to one side and his legs moved toward Yi Lingchen's left. However, the basketball flew to Yi Lingchen's right almost concurrently with his movement. Fake dribble. The rapid change in speed was to fool Yi Lingchen before dribbling past him from the right. Amazingly, the basketball he was dribbling suddenly disappeared the instant he passed Yi Lingchen. His entire body turned stiff and he froze on the spot. Everyone else present was similarly stunned. That included Pan Heng and Qin Yuan. Thump, thump, thump. The dribbling sound continued. But it was Yi Lingchen who was in possession of the ball. It was an ordinary dribbling technique, but it made everyone's pupils contract at once. Was Qian Senator dispossessed? Did Yi Lingchen really steal the ball away with such ease? How did he do that? Everyone's mind went blank. What they just witnessed was so unbelievable that their brains were unable to accept that fact. My turn, now, you defend. Yi Lingchen's voice was calm, as though his actions were merely trivial. Cold sweat rolled down Qian Sen's forehead. He gulped hard and stood opposite Yi Lingchen, steadying himself in a defensive posture. His voice was hoarse and his arms were open. Come at me, don't hesitate. He was not going to let himself fail again. Qian Sen's defense couldn't be that easy to break, right? The other player's initial confidence was completely lost. It's hard to dribble past a stationary opponent. Even though Yi Lingchen can stop Qian Sen, it doesn't mean that he can break through Qian Sen's defense. Pan Heng set aside the slight humility he had earlier and frowned. Based on an analysis of their height and body shape, the probability of Yi Lingchen breaking through Qian Sen's defense is almost zero. No, the possibility is 100%. Zhang Yi's face turned red and his eyes lit up as he spoke up to correct Pan Heng. Pan Heng looked at the emotional Zhang Yi, asking suddenly, "Are you that confident?" "Teacher, I'm telling the truth." Zhang Yi defended himself. In his emotional state, his eyes were tearing up. In him, I saw the hope of Chinese basketball. Pan Heng did not bother to refute him this time but instead exchanged glances with Qin Yuan, then shifted his gaze onto the court. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of the basketball stopped short. Yi Lingchen's body moved. Qian Sen, who had his eyes locked onto Yi Lingchen, burst into action as well. His will would not allow Yi Lingchen to break through his defenses. However, at the very next moment, Yi Lingchen suddenly sped up and turned. Along with a sidestep, his body broke past Qian Sen's side with an extremely abnormal posture. Meanwhile, Qian Sen's body lost his balance from his momentum, causing his entire body fall to the side and crash to the floor. Yi Lingchen raised his hand. The tip of his toes lifted off the ground as he made an aerial shot and scored. Thud! The basketball went through the net and hit the floor. Like a heavy hit of a hammer, it slammed into everyone's heart, causing them to draw rapid breaths. Silence. Everyone's mouths were agape with eyes wide open as they stared at the basketball rolling on the floor, struck speechless. Qian Sen was on the floor, forgetting to even stand as his eyes unfocused. The speed, reaction, and feint that Yi Lingchen just pulled off were sufficient to confuse, sway, and trip him. That was something he found to be unimaginable. One should know that in basketball, it was already difficult to break through someone's defense, but to cause your opponent to trip and fall at the same time, that was even harder to do. Moreover, with the opponent being a professional basketball player, the difficulty would be raised to the point of impossibility. Nonetheless, Yi Lingchen managed to do it with ease. How is that possible? Pan Heng was stunned. His lips trembled greatly as his mind was blown due to the heavy assault on his worldview. Yi Lingchen's earlier performance could be considered flawless. Speed, explosive power, his control of the ball, and even the accuracy of his shots went way beyond a professional athlete, far beyond that of Qian Sen. Genius. An absolute genius. What an amazing young man. Qin Yuan was similarly shocked as he took a deep breath and praised. The captain tripped while his defenses were broken through. This never happened before. Unbelievable. That earlier interception as well. That speed is just too fast. I must be dreaming. How can there be such a monstrous person? That's just scary. After a brief silence, the whole basketball court boiled over with countless amazed cheers that swept through the hall. Yi Lingchen paid them no heed, nor did he feel proud of the victory. Instead, headed towards the door indifferently. Student Yi, please wait a moment. Pan Heng's aged body suddenly burst forth with surprising speed. I was blind. I beg Student Yi to not mind the actions of this decrepit old man. President Pan, you don't have to do that. Yi Lingchen shook his head. Goodbye. Student Yi, you will definitely be the future basketball star. It was our ignorance. Please join the basketball association. Qin Yuan too came over and tried to persuade him sincerely. Thank you for your generosity, but I'll pass, Yi Lingchen said with a wave of his hand. After all that had happened, his interest waned. He could only say that he was not destined to be with the basketball association. Student Yi, your talent should not be buried here. It was my fault. I offer you my deepest apology. Pan Heng gritted his teeth and bent his knees, planning to kneel before Yi Lingchen. Please don't. Yi Lingchen immediately stopped him. Let's part ways here. With that, he ran out of the door without looking back. He's really gone? Everyone stared at Yi Lingchen's figure as he disappeared into the distance, feeling disappointed at the loss. Right then, Qian Sen had walked over slowly. He was still dumbfounded with a dazed expression. What do you think of the earlier competition? Qin Yuan asked. Strong. He's too strong, Qian Sen answered without second thoughts. I felt greatly pressured by him. I've only felt that feeling in NBA from the international basketball stars. It leaves me without the courage to even fight back. Of course, Qian Sen was never qualified to take part in an NBA, but he did meet them by chance. Although they did not have any exchange, they gave him a huge impact. Gasp! Everyone took a deep breath with an astonished look on their faces. What did Qian Sen's experience mean? It meant that Yi Lingchen had what it takes to become an international basketball superstar in the NBA. One should know that due to their physique, up until then, there was not a single Chinese person who was recognized by the NBA. That. Pan Heng pursed his lips. He seemed to have aged another 10 years. His body trembled, then fell to the floor dejectedly. He had toiled for decades in hopes to see the rise of China in the field of basketball. Even his dreams were of Chinese basketball's rise to glory. However, right when that hope appeared before his eyes, he had personally snuffed it out with his own hands. That pain ripped through his heart, tearing him apart. I'm a sinner. I'm the sinner of Chinese basketball. He steeped in his own despair as tears flowed down his cheeks, filled with regret. I'm the idiot. I'm the senile one. President Pan, please calm down. It's normal for youngsters to be prideful. We might still have a chance if we try to persuade him again. Qin Yuan suggested as a frown creased across his brows with a look of pity. That's right. Regardless of his conditions, even if I have to throw away my dignity, I will have to beg him to join the basketball association. Pan Heng's tears continued to flow. He then looked at Zhang He with his tear-filled eyes, giving him an understanding look. Zhang He had never seen his teacher cry like that. He felt bad, but he still voiced his concerns. Teacher, I wish for Yi Lingchen to join our association too. It's just that he wasn't really interested in joining the basketball association before this. It took me a lot of effort in order to get him here. Now that things are like this, I'm afraid it's going to be really difficult. They sat around each other with long faces, sighing constantly. After seeing Yi Lingchen's performance, they were totally unimpressed with the other players. It was like comparing gold to rocks. Right then, Qin Yuan suddenly snapped straight, shouting excitedly, Old Pan, there's a way. We still have one way. What is it? Pan Heng almost jumped from the excitement, spit it out quickly. The contract. We have a signed contract with Yi Lingchen. Qin Yuan's voice was trembling. We just need to find that contract and complete the registration. With that, Yi Lingchen will be a member of our association. OMG. OMFG. That's brilliant. Pan Heng actually cussed. Flushed with excitement, he had a feeling of rising to heaven from hell. That's right. The trash can. Everyone, let's go through the trash together. Find me that contract, I don't care what you do. We must first register Yi Lingchen as a member of our association. He laughed like a madman as he ran towards the trash can. At that moment in time, the trash can was by no means dirty to his eyes, but instead glowing brightly. Zhang Yi immediately chased after him, giving him a worried reminder, "Teacher, be careful of your body. Be careful of cardiac arrest." The next day, after 3 days of development, QQ Music's list finally made a huge change. This change was sufficient to shock everyone. At that moment, on the trending chart, 3 new songs were rising through the ranks at an alarming speed. Chaser of the Light, Boundless Sea and Sky, and Light Years Away. Singer, Chen Xiaoyan. Lyrics, Why, Melody. Why? These 3 songs were displayed on QQ Music's recommendation banner. That spot was originally only meant for superstars, yet at that moment, it was showcasing all 3 of Chen Xiaoyan's songs. It was an event that went beyond the imagination for the ordinary folks. Opening up QQ Music, one could witness the crazed state of those 3 song statistics. The first day's download count reached 500,000, the second day's download count reached 1,200,000. As for that morning, the total download count has reached 2,600,000. It dominated the top 3 places on both the new release and daily hits chart, placing 36th, 48th, and 52nd respectively on the trending chart. That was only the 3rd day after uploading. With such amazing statistics, the implications were clear. Chen Xiaoyan's influence in the music scene was on par with the superstars. Meanwhile, singer Y and Chen Xiaoyan's Weibo erupted with activity. "Ah, Chen Xiaoyan, did you see that? You dominated the chart at the top? Sob sob sob, as a morning light, I'm crying. I'm truly happy for Chen Xiaoyan. This is true strength. China's top voice is not worthy of Chen Xiaoyan performing on their stage. Finally a song release. I've been waiting for so long. Cut the nonsense, I'm playing this on loop for 1 month. Previous post, you're too slow. I'm playing it on loop for 2 days now. I just can't tire from this. Such heavenly music. Just the thought of Chen Xiaoyan getting disqualified makes me anxious. China's top voice's reputation is done for." Back at QQ Music's back-end operation, Little Chen and the other music editors were similarly shocked. Although they had anticipated Chen Xiaoyan's songs to be a hit, they did not expect it to gain this much traction. With this momentum, it was highly probable for her song to claim the top 3 in the trending chart. Amazing, absolutely amazing. If Top Voice 1 saw these results, they might just cry. Ha ha ha, what to do? With Chen Xiaoyan off their stage, they've suffered a great loss. All 3 songs topped the charts, each of them a classic. What was Top Voice thinking, not taking any action to salvage that? Such idiots. Little Chen smiled instead. That's not all. There are better things in store for China's Top Voice. His gaze fell on another song title, Some People. That song was similarly soaring through the chart at an amazing speed. However, due to its recommendation being placed in a more obscured spot, its result was not as great as Chen Xiaoyan's songs. Nonetheless, it had limitless potential. With only 2 days' worth of minor recommendations, Some People's download count was over 230,000. Those statistics were extremely terrifying. For a new song with an empty slate, those results were eye-popping. Most importantly, it was composed and sung by Y himself. Once it becomes a hit, that would set everything alight. Friday approached. Little Hai was a generic white-collar worker. He did not have any special hobbies. He enjoyed listening to some music during his downtime to soothe his feelings. What a surprise! 3 of Chen Xiaoyan's new songs were released in QQ Music. He selected the song, then shut his eyes as he enjoyed the music. Apart from that, he would check out the new release chart for some interesting new songs. As a longtime music fan, he was very picky with songs. As he continued to scroll downwards, his hand suddenly froze. He had not heard of this song, and the statistics seemed promising. Great improvements each day, while the popularity and placement of the song rose quickly. The song was titled as Some People. What a weird name. Should I try it out? Clicking into Some People, he could not help but frown at what he saw. The singing, melody, and lyrics were all done by Y. What's the meaning of this? Impersonating my idol? With the recent rise in popularity for Y, it was inevitable to have many impersonators. Some would even come out as Y, but without exception, all of them failed to prove their ability. Y's popularity was not just by its name, but was instead judged by its recognition by the masses. This must be another one of those attention seekers. If this song sounds bad, I must criticize this person until he deletes his account and song. At the same time, the song has begun. Some people travel the world, some people work hard their whole life. Some people sweet talk, and some have long been numb. Some people think the poor love the rich, some people only think of money. With the deep, low voice at the start, it immediately swept away all his notions, calming his heart. Progressing through the song, the surprise in Little Hi's eyes grew. The lyrics and the emotions that the song conveyed resonated strongly with him. Society was filled with various people. For their own benefit, they would play their roles. People dealing with numbness, struggles, authority, forbearance, and countless other experiences flashed before his eyes. The complex emotions blossomed within his heart. He had never imagined that a song could pack so much within it. Furthermore, the voice in the song was captivating, having perfect control over the melody. Without realizing it, he had already listened for 10 times without growing tired of it. This song, isn't this about life? Little Hi's eyes felt teary. In the song, he saw himself, and tears unwittingly flowed down his cheeks. Right then, he opened the song reviews. As expected, it was flooded with good reviews. FCK, amazing song, this is truly an amazing song. I'm not bullsh *TTING. This is the only song that made me cry like a baby. Sob sob sob, I cry every time I listen to this. So impactful and relatable. Genius. One must be a genius to write a song like this. Listening to the end, I got woke. No matter what methods we employ, we are but dust at the end of our lives. I just wish for a life without regrets. This song is on a constant loop in my head. I think I'm addicted. When I first saw the name Y, I didn't want to listen to it as I fear it might ruin Y's image. Now, I realize my mistake. Everyone, do you think the singer is the real Y? Little Hi slowly read through the comments, but his heart was unable to calm down. His boiling passion within him demanded to be vented out. Finally, he sat straight and started to write his review. The song, some people, lack the fancy shower of words, nor does it contain elegant phrases. However, the lyrics shoot straight through one's heart. The more you listen, the more the tears come. This song is truly a work of art. As of now, it is the one song that left the deepest mark within me. Personally, I think it's very likely that this song is written and sung by Y himself. As a longtime music aficionado, Little Hi had his connections. His online ID was Voice of the Sea, also known by his nickname of Sea Serpent, as a reference to his venomous words. Usually, very few songs would pique his interest. All the reviews he made were scathing and vicious. However, the songs that he recommended became classics, which led to him gaining some popularity. Once the music review was published, it immediately attracted some attention. Hee, since when did Sea Serpent take up such advertising? Written and sung by Y himself? Are you kidding me? Sea Serpent. How dare you blaspheme about my idol Y? That's it, I'm turning into your hater. Appraisal complete. Op is a dumb SS. What song is this? I've never heard of it. A lot of users came out of hiding just to take a jab at Little Hi. His post was filled with hateful comments. It was bad enough to praise a song that much, but he had to involve Y that was just asking for it. Did he not know how many fans singer Y had at the moment? Other than the hateful comments, some naturally had to check out the song in question, some people. Once the song started, they had immediately quieted down. The song seemed to carry its own calming effect. It managed to stir up the emotions within a person, yet calming them down at the same time. Classic. An absolute masterpiece, without fail. All that listened to the song would be conquered. After 3 days, some people's play count increased exponentially. At the same time, the name Y in the song description attracted more attention and discussion. Such a masterpiece was very likely the work of singer Y. Countless people rushed to leave comments and private messages under Yi Lingchen's Weibo account with unbridled excitement. Y, are you the one that sang Some People? It's so good? Y, I'm sure it's you, right? Only you can be that talented. Sob sob sob, it's wonderful. Y, all your songs had contributed to my tears. Several people had even gone to Chen Xiaoyan's Weibo to ask if Some People was another creation of singer Y. The comments in Weibo kept increasing. Soon enough, the term, Some People, and Singer Y made its way to the top at Weibo's trending search. Yi Lingchen looked at the heated discussion on Weibo and started typing with a smile. Initially, I only wanted to sing on the down low, but my talent doesn't allow for it. That phrase worked like a match on a stash of explosives, immediately triggering an explosion. FCK. That is really why, I've finally heard the voice of my prince. It's so good, I can't believe that Y sings so well. If he steps in the field, he will be at the level of superstars. Ha ha ha, truly your talent doesn't allow for it. Y, you're so mischievous. Y is so easygoing. Some people was sung for top voice, right? With the trend going stronger, some people was understood in different ways, and countless interpretations of its meaning appeared online. However, most of them linked it with China's top voice. Some people sweet talk, some people only think of money. Some people are devils but pretend to be saints. I don't know why, I just suddenly thought of Hong Na. Upvote that. I think so too. This song similarly shows us Y's mentality. He didn't let top voice affect him. Most likely this is another whimsically written song. While taking a stab at Hong Na and top voice, this was probably also meant to comfort Chen Xiaoyan. For people like Hong Na, there's no need to take it to heart. Following the increasing influence, the incident of Chen Xiaoyan's disqualification was brought into view once again. China's top voice turned into the target of ridicule by many people. Meanwhile, at China's top voices backstage, the crew was panicking. Countless complaints and criticism were hurled at them from all angles that it almost crashed their official website. Director, what do we do? There are too many messages, we can't delete them fast enough. With every passing second, dozens of bad reviews filled with scathing remarks appeared. How could they delete in time? Director, the invitations to the finals that we sent are also under heavy fire. Most of them claiming that they would not attend nor watch again, another crew member said nervously. Director, half of our appointed participants for the next season are pulling out. That person paused, then continued, they claim to be afraid of dirty tricks. Fine by me. This is a big show. Why would I be short on participants? The director's face was dark. He paced left and right unnervingly. Never once he thought that things would reach such a scale because of Chen Xiaoyan's dismissal. At the same time, he was extremely regretful at heart. All three of Chen Xiaoyan's songs were spread like fire on QQ Music. If Chen Xiaoyan had received fair treatment in Top Voice, then they could claim that Chen Xiaoyan had made such achievements via Top Voice. With that, Top Voice's popularity would grow explosively. Ironically, Chen Xiaoyan had faced unfair treatment within Top Voice itself, garnering the exact opposite result, with dire consequences. Unfortunately, it was too late for regrets. Director, why don't we issue a public apology to Chen Xiaoyan and why? Suggested one of the crew members. Director Zhou kept silent for a moment, then shook his head. With a sigh, just try your best to suppress this. Tomorrow is Top Voice's finals. Whatever happens, we'll wrap up this season of Top Voice and settle the winner first. To have his program apologize to a single person? He could not bear to lower himself to that extent yet. If that happened, it would be a stain in his career as a director. Saturday came. China's Top Voices finals began. However, what should have been a crowded scene had only a few dozen people. Among them were several crew members. The four judges took their places. As they turned around to look at the empty hall, it felt extremely awkward. As for Hong Na, she had an uneasy look on her face. The past few days, she was met with much criticism. Her Weibo account was flooded with endless vitriol. Running out of options, she could only delete her Weibo account. What's the matter? Why are there so few people present? The director was dumbfounded. That scene before him was beyond understanding. Director, at this moment everyone is boycotting our program. A lot of our previous audience were here because of Chen Xiaoyan. Then don't you know how to get people to come? Call your friends and relatives to boost the numbers. The director's face flushed red, shouting angrily. What's the point of filming when the seats are mostly empty? Everyone just kept quiet with their heads down. At that point, they were too ashamed to let others know that they work at Top Voice, as it may lead to them being the target of public scorn. What are you standing here for? Get on the streets and get people, barked the director, after which he ran out at the lead, trying to get someone from the streets. He approached a couple. Hello, Capital TV station is in the middle of recording a show. Would you like to have a look? Show? What show? China's Top Voice. Oh, is it that show that plays dirty tricks and even disqualified Chen Xiaoyan? Yes. Stay away from me. The boycott of China's top voice went beyond director Zhou's expectations. He walked alone in the wind, lost and in disarray. This incident ruined the show's reputation overnight, turning it into a target of public scorn. Never mind, we'll just not film the live audience and stick to the stage, the director said through gritted teeth, finally coming to a decision. This season had finally arrived at the final stage. The stage was the main focus anyway, they could just make do. Everything was ready and the filming began. The two participants for the finals took to the stage. Their faces were covered with tears, appearing emotional and anxious. Holding the mic, they kept speaking a whole load of emotionally charged words to stir the heart. The cameraman had even given them the occasional close-up of their tears. All that to create an atmosphere of a strong bond of friendship being treasured, yet they were forced to compete with each other. The judges gave the occasional guidance and both participants prepared their script well. After a lengthy exchange, the first person finally started to sing. "How is it? How are the ratings?" the director asked nervously. Little Zhao swallowed a mouthful of saliva, afraid of speaking. He finally spoke up anxiously, "Director, the ratings are only at 0.02. "What? Say that again." The director's face turned green. 0.02. Just how trashy would it be to obtain such low TV ratings? In his memories, there were never any shows that made such low ratings. "The ratings are only at 0.02, said Little Zhao with great pain and difficulty. "Impossible. Top Voice's ratings had always been at least 0.8. The last two episode ratings had just reached a record high. How can it drop this badly all of a sudden?" The director was going crazy. "Go check it carefully. The system must be wrong." "Director, I've already checked it 5 times. This is it," said Little Zhao bitterly. To be honest, the 0.02 rating was due to some people watching just to throw profanities at Top Voice. Little Zhao could not bear to tell the director the truth. Right then, a middle-aged man walked over quickly. He frowned while he held onto a stack of materials in his hands. His expression looked terrible. "Chairman Ding." Director Zhou's expression immediately changed, looking at the middle-aged man apprehensively. "Director Zhou, so you do know that I'm the chairman? If your Top Voice wants to die, don't drag our capital TV station down with you," Chairman Ding roared like a clear resounding bell. "Stop all your shows under Top Voice immediately." "No, please." Director Zhou's face turned pale. "Chairman Ding, today is Top Voice's finals." Hee, nobody would watch such a competition. "What's the point of continuing it?" Chairman Ding stared coldly at Director Zhou. "I don't know how your brain works. This show was such a hit when Chen Xiaoyan was on it. Can't you tell the reason why your show has fallen this far? This is the data collected from our TV station's servers. Look carefully at your handiwork." Chairman Ding slammed the materials in front of Director Zhou with a loud smack. Director Zhou grabbed them with his trembling hands. The materials recorded capital TV station's ratings. When Chen Xiaoyan was around, the entire channel's ratings were soaring. However, after Chen Xiaoyan was disqualified, the channel's ratings sank like a rock and the TV station's backend was filled with accusations. That level of contrast was stunning, shocking them to their core. "Chairman Ding, Chen Xiaoyan's disqualification had nothing to do with us. It was all because of Hong Na." Director Zhou struggled to explain. Hee, Director Zhou, you're experienced in this field. How can you still not understand Chen Xiaoyan's worth? Chairman Ding voiced his disappointment. Chen Xiaoyan was popular to start with. Furthermore, there's Y backing her up. How can you overlook that? Just today, your Top Voice faced such abysmal ratings, but QQ Music's charts were taken over by Y and Chen Xiaoyan. Some people placed first, then Chaser of the Light, Boundless Sea and Sky, and Light Years Away were respectively placed second, third and fourth. That popularity was fearsome. Director Zhou's body quivered and his mouth trembled, too stunned for words. He could not help but recall the hesitation that he had. If he had stepped forward to clarify the show's position, cut ties with Hong Na, and taken back Chen Xiaoyan's disqualification, then the outcome would be a complete opposite of his predicament. Even if he had only made an announcement to say that Chen Xiaoyan's disqualification had nothing to do with Top Voice, things would not have been this bad. At that moment, his heart was filled with regret. He overestimated Top Voice's popularity, and also underestimated Chen Xiaoyan and Y's popularity. You have 3 days. If you can't control the damage of this incident, Our capital TV station will not air China's top voice. Chairman Ding then looked at the dejected director Zhou, then left with a sigh. China's Top Voice Finals episode was cancelled. The news went up into Weibo's trending topics. Immediately behind that, the notice from Top Voice attracted a massive following. Chen Xiaoyan's disqualification was not a decision from the show, but rather Hong Na's personal actions. Chen Xiaoyan's skills were flawless. As long as Chen Xiaoyan is willing, she will be able to step foot onto Top Voice's stage once again. At times like this, China's Top Voice threw Hong Na under the bus without a second thought. That notice undoubtedly became a hot topic at that time. China's Top Voice gave in. At that moment, all the morning lights felt a sense of relief wash over them. Ha ha ha, Top Voice finally knows the importance of our Chen Xiaoyan now. Making an apology now? What were you doing all these while? Hee hee, trying to cut ties with just a single notice. Why didn't you stand up for her when Chen Xiaoyan was disqualified? Now that Chen Xiaoyan is a hit, you want her back? How shameless can you be? Are you even worthy of her? Following that, someone exposed pictures of China's Top Voices hall during the finals and the TV ratings for that day. The empty hall and near zero TV ratings could only be described as pathetic. It got them a wave of insults and likes. FCK. This is just too pathetic, ha ha ha. Forgive my bluntness, but this is the worst TV ratings in history. No wonder they gave in. It seems that China's Top Voice can't survive anymore. You reap what you sow. Meanwhile, towards China's Top Voice's announcement, Chen Xiaoyan's reply was very simple. Thank you for your offer, but I will never step foot on this stage ever again. Domineering. Today you do not treasure me, tomorrow you'll be unworthy of me. China's Top Voice, it's about time to cry, ha ha ha. When director Zhou saw Chen Xiaoyan's reply, he could only shake his head in resignation as it was expected. As of then, Chen Xiaoyan's popularity could be described as a massive hit. Furthermore, there's a singer Y hidden behind her, boosting her popularity, most definitely turning her into a popular guest fought over by various big-name shows. Funny that he originally held the biggest trump card in his hand, yet it resulted in this. He felt like a mentally challenged person. Soon after China's Top Voice made the announcement, Capital TV Channel 2 made an announcement in its wake. We will temporarily stop airing China's Top Voice for some internal adjustments and regulatory re-evaluation. At the same time, Hong Na's position as a judge is no longer valid and she will be placed into our blacklist. From this point on, Hong Na will no longer be a part of Capital TV Channel's future programs. That was equivalent to Capital TV Channel's one-sided banning of Hong Na. It caused a rippling effect. To a superstar, that was the heaviest punishment. Although it was only a ban from Capital TV Channel alone, it still made a great impact on Hong Na, as this would be a stain on her records. If other TV shows were to invite Hong Na on board, they would have to think twice. To put simply, Hong Na's status in the entertainment industry would drop like a rock, making it almost impossible to recover from. Nobody ever expected Capital TV Channel's decisive action and ruthless approach. They mercilessly killed Hong Na's career in one stroke without any hesitation. However, it was clear to many. They all knew that Capital TV Channel's action was mainly to show their goodwill towards a single person, Y. Singer Y's talent was undoubted. Although he never showed himself, his influence in the music industry was monstrous. Capital TV Channel's action was to give up on Hong Na and placed all their bets on Y. Unsurprisingly, as the announcement made its rounds, Chairman Ding from the Capital TV Channel made a Weibo status update on his personal account stating, regarding Chen Xiaoyan's disqualification, I express my deepest regrets. I guarantee that our station will keep a closer watch on future programs to avoid similar incidents from happening. I hope for Chen Xiaoyan and Y to not bear any grudges towards our TV station. Both of you are forever welcome on our channel. Meanwhile, at Capital TV Channel's headquarters. Chairman, are our actions a little too much? Little Wu was Chairman Ding's secretary. He was reading the heated discussions on Weibo as he asked in a worried tone. Hee hee, you're still in the dark because you have yet to see the essence of this incident. Chairman Ding shook his head and laughed. Are you thinking that Hong Na, as the music queen, is strongly rooted while Chen Xiaoyan and Y have no foundation, and my actions are reckless? Little Wu unwittingly nodded. China's Top Voice thinks the same too. See the predicament are they in now? Chairman Ding paused for a moment after his question, then continued. Although Y had only written 4 songs, Out of the four, I see limitless potential. He's like a treasure trove, one that can shake up the entire world of music. Little Wu heaved a deep breath. That was the first time he heard the chairman praise someone like that. He's that amazing. Chairman Ding nodded seriously and continued, consider carefully. Under what circumstances did Y write his songs? Little Wu went silent, but his mind was going through a storm, with a growing sense of shock the more he thought about it. After the reminder, he finally realized. Apart from the first song being written for Chen Xiaoyan with unclear reasons, the other three were all Y's response towards Hong Na's provocations. Furthermore, they were all out of whim, and the songs were all targeted. Genius. A terrifying genius. If Y were to fully focus on producing his works, his musical achievements would be terrifying. Now you get it. Chairman Ding's eyes glowed. Chen Xiaoyan's rise to fame is not by chance. At the root of it, it's because of Y. That also means that Y can create stars. Little Wu's voice was trembling, then continued, as long as Y is willing, he might just create countless masterpieces. Hee, that's not all. Chairman Ding smiled with a profound look on his face, saying slyly, now with the rise of so many Ys, each of them amazing in their own right with great talents. Regardless of it being a coincidence or intentional, we need to play it safe and try not to cross any of them. Little Wu finally had a moment of enlightenment. Experience counts. Right then, his eyes popped wide open and his face flushed red, shouting excitedly, Chairman, Y has liked our statement. That like was undoubtedly Y's response to the Capital TV channel. It was to dissolve the misunderstanding between both parties. Chairman Ding laughed excitedly, knowing that he placed the right bet. At the same time, the news of singer Y's like on Capital TV channel's status garnered wide attention from the public. FCK, Y liked Capital TV channel's status, ha ha ha, China's top voice is done for, and so is Hong Na, that is quite a bold move from Capital TV channel. Is this an attempt to get closer to Y? I look forward to Y's appearance on Capital TV channel in the future. Y, when will you show yourself? I want to hear more of your songs. As for Hong Na, she was losing her temper on Weibo, criticizing Capital TV channel for burning bridges, showing a lack of mercy, looking down on aged celebrities, and even putting profits before all. Of course, they were lost in the sea of comments of netizens. After giving Capital TV channel a like, Yi Lingchen logged out of Weibo. The incident had nothing to do with the Capital TV channel. Furthermore, they have shown their sincerity, which deserved a response. After all, Yi Lingchen still needed to collect popularity. It was unwise to sour his relationship with them. In his free time, Yi Lingchen pulled up the system menu. During this time, his singer Y identity gained the most traction. He first wrote Boundless Sea and Sky for Chen Xiaoyan on China's Top Voice, then followed by Light Years Away. Both the songs were quite the hit. Following that, due to Hong Na's troublesome behavior, it pushed this incident to its climax, where he wrote Some People and in turn gained a tremendous amount of popularity points. From 70,000, it shot straight to 223,698. He would not have noticed if he did not take a look. The rate it increased surprised even Yi Lingchen himself. However, that was understandable. The quality of the songs was of no question. Add to it the incident with China's Top Voice which brought them the attention of the audience. It was equivalent to a massive advertising campaign. It made sense for the big jump in popularity points. Apart from music, Yi Lingchen had also written Celestial Bane. Although Celestial Bane was still in the new title phase, it was already beginning to gain traction. That had surely got him several popularity points, just not as obvious as singer Y's identity. It would seem that he still needed to stir things up to gain more popularity points quickly. Over 200,000 popularity points, that was sufficient for 2 skills to go through basic advancement. Yi Lingchen gave it some thought but finally decided to continue saving his popularity points. As of then, he had already mastered enough skills and had little need for basic advancement for his skills. He might as well collect more popularity points and wait for the intermediate skill advancement when he reaches 1 million popularity points. If basic skills were already that amazing, Yi Lingchen was curious as to what intermediate skills would look like. Take parkour for example. If that had reached the intermediate level, he estimated that he might be able to fly if he was caught in another fire. As for the dog language, he would then be able to communicate directly with Little Green and Little Gray. Then there were also diatribe, animal training, Arhat fist, and the rest. The intermediate skills are so alluring, Just the thought of it feels great. The next day, Yi Lingchen finished up his morning exercises early, then took Little Green and Little Gray for a stroll in the residential area. The environment within the residential area was excellent, merging with the park, beautiful and invigorating. Zhang Yunqi similarly went out early in the morning after preparing breakfast for Yi Lingchen. The renovation for Y Cosmetics was done and the store could begin operations. Zhang Yunqi had spent most of her time on that matter lately. For her, the rent for each day was a huge sum. Added to it the amount of money invested, she wanted to utilize every possible second to make a profit. She was already smart to begin with. Couple with that her practice of makeup skills with Yi Lingchen during those times. Her technique was already above average. Even if she could not compare with a professional makeup artist, she was not far off. Little Green, get that bird on the tree, Yi Lingchen gestured. Little Green immediately shot out like an arrow, leaving only afterimages as it shuffled up along the tree trunk, scaring a flock of birds, causing them to take flight. By the time it reappeared, Little Green was carrying a sparrow in its jaws, placing it in front of Yi Lingchen's foot as though presenting a gift. The sparrow's feathers were stiffened and flustered, chirping wildly as its eyes filled with terror, trembling all over. I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm really gonna die, the wolf pup is scary. Not bad, you've improved a lot. Yi Lingchen smiled as he retrieved the sparrow from Little Green's jaws. As soon as he let go, the sparrow flew away with a whoosh, nowhere to be found. That incident would most likely develop into a traumatic experience that haunted it for life. Little Gray, catch a fish from the river. Yi Lingchen pointed at the river by the side. Little Gray was long ready for that moment, splashing straight into the water immediately, its limbs flailing hard, enjoying the swim. 3 minutes later, it came back ashore excitedly with a carp in its mouth, then placed it by Yi Lingchen's foot. Haha, not bad. Yi Lingchen laughed, with you two around, my meals in the future will be secured. As time passed, the greatness of the animal taming skill was brought to light. In Yi Lingchen's opinion, this skill had the scariest potential for growth. That was because animal taming was not limited to one or two beasts, but instead could be applied to many. How scary would things be if a well-trained beast were to show itself? Furthermore, when animal taming was paired with the animal language that he learned, the synergy was even more terrifying, to the point that he could command an army of animals. Animal taming was not limited to instilling obedience in the animal. It also sharpens an animal's abilities, increasing their overall potential by having a strict training regimen and special dietary formula. Little Green and Little Gray's physique was by no means small. They were already near 2/3 the size of a full-grown dog, slowly developing the presence of a wild beast. Ring ring ring. Right then, Yi Lingchen's phone rang. It was a call from Li Tai. Figuring that such a long time had passed, Huo Yuanjia's filming should be almost done. Young Master Yi, it's me. Li Tai's voice could be heard from the other side of the phone. How's the filming process? It's about done. I estimate that we can wrap up soon as we only have a few more scenes left. Li Tai paused for a moment before continuing. The reason for my call is to notify you that we're facing some troubles in the last couple of scenes. What sort of trouble? Yi Lingchen frowned. We lack actors. Li Tai's sound carried a hint of bitterness. Our last scene requires some foreigners to take part, and we need a muscular Englishman. We've sent the invitations, but it was met with refusal. Refused? That's right. Our movie's ending theme is to showcase Chinese Kung Fu in spirit. Huo Yuanjia wins, showcasing the strength of Chinese Kung Fu. However, it also insulted the Englishmen. They felt that Chinese Kung Fu is lacking, hence they're unwilling to take part in such a movie that insults their country. Thanks to that, we're at an impasse, Li Tai said regretfully. I see. Yi Lingchen nodded, considering the matter. That was a difficult situation indeed. They're not budging at all? This matter is in historical records after all, with historical evidence, not something that we made up. They have started a boxing gym in China. The main issue is that they're looking down on Chinese Kung Fu, Li Tai continued, saying that they will only agree if Chinese Kung Fu can impress them. That matter had been delayed for a week. At first, Li Tai did not want to bother Yi Lingchen, but that day was the day for their duel. After some thoughts, he finally decided to notify Yi Lingchen about it. You guys head over first. Send me the location of the boxing gym. I'll head over right now. After the call, Yi Lingchen brought Little Green and Little Gray home and immediately headed to the location Li Tai sent him. The location's name was called Inferno Boxing Gym. Hengdian Studios was already in the outskirts quite some distance away from capital city, but Inferno Boxing Gym turned out to be even further. It was located in a village on the outskirts of capital city, in the village of Shangshui. Without a choice, Yi Lingchen could only call for a taxi. The trip took him 2.5 hours, coming to a total of RMB 500. The amount caused Yi Lingchen to flinch in pain. Damn it, I must get a car as soon as I can. Right after that thought, Yi Lingchen remembered that he did not even have a driving license and started to feel bitter. FCK, I better find a chance to get my driving license first. Arriving at Shangshui village, the scenery caught Yi Lingchen by surprise, baffling him. It was nothing like he imagined. Shangshui village was incredibly prosperous, with heavy traffic and big crowds. Furthermore, there were quite a number of foreigners with blonde hair and blue eyes. The guys were heavily built while the girls were tall and glamorous. They conversed in English along the way, contributing to the lively atmosphere. Could that be a tourist hotspot catered to the foreigners? How did he not hear about it at all within the country? As he continued, the closer he got to Inferno Boxing Gym, his surroundings grew increasingly lively. At last, he arrived in front of a huge storefront. Yi Lingchen stood still and looked up towards the big letters of Inferno Boxing Gym above him. In the store, he could clearly make out the sounds of shouting and excited screams. Upon entering, Yi Lingchen saw a room full of foreigners. His brows creased into a frown as his nose was assaulted with the sweaty odor in the room. Rumor has it that foreigners were hairy and sweat profusely. It would seem the rumors were true after all. The boxing gym was very different from Yi Lingchen's expectations. At first, he thought it would resemble a Chinese martial arts hall, with people training in an orderly fashion. He never expected to see a chaotic scene. It was unclear whether Li Tai and the rest had arrived yet. Amid the crowd was a ring. Within it, two foreign boxers were fighting each other. Each attack brought cheers from the crow below the ring. From the looks of it, the foreigners focused more on brute force than actual technique. Within a crowd of foreigners, Chinese people with black hair and eyes were especially outstanding. In one sweeping glance, Yi Lingchen managed to spot someone he knew. At the same time, the other party's gaze had similarly fell upon him, blurting out in surprise, why are you here? Officer Shu. I didn't expect to meet you here. Yi Lingchen nodded in acknowledgement. Shu Jianan wore a gray-white checkered shirt that day and had her short hair combed to the left. As bold as always, but looking more charming than in her police uniform. Don't address me as Officer Shu over here. Shu Nan shot a glare at Yi Lingchen. I'm on leave. After arresting Brother Dragon previously, she was recognized for her contribution and awarded a long holiday by the Bureau. So you're here just for a holiday? Or could it be that you're a spy? Yi Lingchen joked and laughed. The boxing gym might not be counted as a lawless place, but it was not a good place to be too. Why aren't I allowed to come here? Shu Nan harumphed. I heard of a boxing gym run by a foreigner here. I've always wanted to check out if boxing was as great as rumor has it. After a short pause, Shu Nan continued, right, I have to thank you for the previous incident. Thanks to you, I've gotten another meritorious service. Both cases related to the human traffickers were solved because of Yi Lingchen. Shu Nan thought that Yi Lingchen was her lucky star. That was just a coincidence. We're just serving the people, Yi Lingchen answered with a smile. Shu Nan's personality was just as refreshing as her appearance. Shu Nan, this is? A man asked as he approached from behind Shu Nan. In that queue, there were only a total of 3 people with Shu Nan included, consisting of 2 men and 1 woman. When he saw Yi Lingchen chatting warmly with Shu Nan, he frowned and turned hostile. This is Yi Lingchen. He's amazing, said Shu Nan, then she introduced the guy to Yi Lingchen. This is Lu Chao. We used to attend the police academy together, but he came here after he graduated. Meanwhile, this is Li Mo. Lu Chao is the only Chinese boxing instructor in the establishment. He's a very good fighter. I'm just interested in fighting and have a little else in terms of talent. I've used what I learned from the police academy and fused it with boxing. Just so happens that it gave me some results. Lu Chao made a humble smile, then looked at Yi Lingchen. This is the one you mentioned that helped you arrest the human traffickers? It seems that he's also interested in martial arts. Perhaps we can spar if there's a chance. Yi Lingchen nodded, then gave Lu Chao a not-so-sincere smile. FCK. What a shameless person. An angry look quickly flashed through Lu Chao's face. After those words he said, most people would courteously patronize a little, but this person, that arrogance. Shu Nan, if you take on such a dangerous mission again, you must ask me along. I've been through the police academy after all. It's more than enough to take care of some Tom, Dick, and Harry, said Lu Chao as he glared at Yi Lingchen coldly. There was a strong sense of provocation. Better not. My missions are classified. Shu Nan shook her head, not taking Lu Chao's words to heart. Instead, she focused on the fight in the ring. Mildly disappointed, she shook her head. It seems boxing is not that special after all. Shu Nan, that's not all. What we present here is for the general public. The real deal is the underground arena every Saturday. Underground arena? Shu Nan was surprised, but her face turned dark. That's right. What you see here is the basics of boxing. They aren't even considered experts yet. Just something like this. I can fight 10 of them on my own with a single hand. Li Mo was nodding along at Lu Chao's bragging. Instructor Lu is famous here for his fighting abilities. Even the boxing gym's owner praises him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let a Chinese take the role of an instructor. Boxing was originally a foreign sport. For Lu Chao to be a boxing instructor here, it was natural that he performed better than others. Seeing Shu Nan's changing expression, Lu Chao immediately explained, the underground arena is not much different from the regular arena. It's just that their target audience are the foreigners, so the competition becomes much stronger, and offers better entertainment. They take precautions to prevent death and serious injuries. It's a lawful activity. With that, Shu Nan's expression finally lightened up. Since we're friends, why don't I bring you over to the underground arena? Today's match is about to start. Lu Chao smiled. The gym owner said that he would personally take part today. It'll be a good show. Yi Lingchen's heart trembled slightly, but he did not reject it. He could not find Li Tai and the rest out there. There was a high probability that they went to the so-called underground arena. Meanwhile, seeing no signs of rejection from Shu Nan, Lu Chao made up his mind and took Li Mo along to settle the registration process. Along the way, his expression turned grim. Running into an obstacle like that out of nowhere. Where did that kid come from? Instructor Lu, Shu Nan seems quite close to that kid. That kid just helped Shu Nan twice by chance. He's a pushover. I've gone through the academy with Shu Nan, so my chances are much higher than that kid. If he backs off, then it's fine. If he doesn't, I don't mind teaching him a lesson. Following Lu Chao through the noisy hall, they went all the way to the back of the boxing gym. From there, they went through a door and took the stairs down. Not only did the store cover a huge area, but it also came with a massive basement. The lighting in the basement had a yellow hue. By the time Yi Lingchen arrived, it was already halfway filled. Looking around, it was indeed as Lu Chao claimed. Over 80% of the people were foreigners, with Englanders being the majority, followed by those from the Rice Nation and Russians. Although boxing was widely known in China, it was not particularly popular. Instead, the foreigners loved it. They reveled at watching this violent art. Yi Lingchen noticed that at the four sides of the ring of the underground arena were small bars. The design was very similar to the dogfighting arena, where attendants stood at the bar to welcome guests. It was obviously set up for placing bets. Since it was boxing, betting was unavoidable. That was probably the main income source for Inferno Boxing Gym. Lu Chao naturally would not risk getting in trouble and tell Shu Nan about it. Instead, he only gave her a brief introduction to the underground arena. Those that fight here have reached a certain level in boxing. They're on par with those boxers on TV. Oftentimes, some rich Chinese merchants would come and hire bodyguards through a tournament. Lu Chao then continued, as for the owner of Inferno Boxing Gym, it's none other than the previous boxing champion, Ali. Ali? It's him? Shu Nan was surprised. Rumor has it that he moved to China after his retirement. I didn't know it was real. While the owner Ali was the boxing champion, he had a record of 20 consecutive victories. Even the current boxing champion had gone through his tutelage, Li Mo explained. Lu Chao then continued the introduction. The patrons are all nobles from foreign lands. Quite a number of them would send their kids over here to learn self-defense. Boxing is considered a top-tier fighting technique. The reason Ali came here was to popularize boxing in China. At the same time, at the other corner of the underground arena, a group of Chinese sat there. Some of them were uneasy and occasionally looked around. "I didn't expect this Inferno boxing gym to have an underground arena that I've never heard of," said Li Tai as he frowned. "It just feels like these foreigners get to act with impunity in our country," Li Jing chimed in. Their party of 7 consists of 7 people. Li Tai, Li Jing, Sister Lin, and Xiao Feifei at the core. Then there were 3 other martial arts stuntmen that were there to act as bodyguards. With their special rights, it's natural for these foreigners to be insolent. Li Tai sighed. These foreigners not only had special rights but also many benefits. Although it was a necessary diplomatic arrangement, it still feels unfair when brought up. "If only we knew they had this planned, we could bring more people along," said one of the martial arts stuntmen. Being seated amongst all the well-built foreigners, it was natural for them to feel a little uneasy. Since the gym owner invited us over, he would surely have made preparations. Li Tai sighed again, then advised, "You guys must ensure Xiao Feifei and Sister Lin's safety." The 2 ladies naturally needed protection the most. "I wonder if Ling Chen can find us here," Xiao Feifei said in a weak voice, her face looking sickly pale. "Feifei, you shouldn't have come while you're ill," said Sister Lin in a worried tone. Xiao Feifei smiled. "Since I'm just going to lay around doing nothing, coming outside for a stretch won't hurt." Right then, a group of people rushed inside which caused a commotion. At the helm was a muscled man with his upper arms exposed. The rock-hard muscles bulged all over his body, giving off a feeling of terrifying strength. Furthermore, his physique was considered big even by England's standards, standing tall at 2 full meters, and he had eyes that gleamed like a well-polished brass bell. Behind him was another group of muscled men with their upper arms exposed. They fell into 2 lines and marched forward in strides. Bang, bang, bang. With all of them at that size taking strides together, their footsteps sounded thunderous as the ground shook from their footsteps. Instantly, the entire underground arena boiled over with excitement. "Oh my God! It's Ali personally leading the team into the ring. He's so manly. He's the pride of England. We lucked out this time to see the former boxing champion." "That's Ali?" Shu Nan exclaimed in surprise after taking a deep breath. That man exuded a strong presence, giving off the feeling of an immovable mountain. A normal person would not even have the courage to face him, much less fight him. "Hee, you haven't seen him box?" Lu Chao snickered with a hint of smugness. "He can throw up to 5 punches in a second, furthermore, each of the punches hit at a minimum of 100 kilograms force. That's unbelievable. That speed and strength were already beyond the limits of a human. Even wild beasts might not have such strength. To put simply, it would be an easy feat for Ali to punch a bull to death. Explosive power, speed, and raw strength. All of them flawless. How else would he be a boxing champion?" Lu Chao laughed, then continued, "However, he retired for too long and was eventually forgotten. Behind him are the boxing gym's instructors. They are strong as well." Li Mo chimed in too. "You see that bald guy? 1 week ago, a merchant hired him as a bodyguard to brave through the rainforests of South Africa. The rainforests of South Africa are filled with all sorts of dangers and wild beasts. If a normal person were to enter, that person would probably end up as food within half a day. If the rainforests of South Africa are too vague, you should have heard about the Warriors Department, right?" Lu Chao pursed his lips. "These people each hold the record of defeating martial artists. I think those so-called Chinese kung fu are nothing but parlor tricks. Only in boxing where you fight your way through real fights with every punch is the real kung fu." A look of displeasure flashed through Shu Nan's face. Amongst martial artists, there are varying levels of strength. Even if they had defeated martial artists, that doesn't mean that they can defeat other martial artists, much less look down on Chinese kung fu. "Ha ha ha, Shu Nan, I know that even back in the police academy, you disliked hearing others insult Chinese kung fu. I was the same." Lu Chao laughed loudly. "However, the truth remains. Chinese kung fu is a product of fiction. After spending so much time in the police academy, do you think you're strong enough?" Shu Nan faltered, unable to refute. As a girl, upon entering the police academy, she had her dreams. However, after much training, she could only manage to handle some simple thugs. If she met these people, she would not even last 1 punch. "I, too, have seen the wonders of the outside country before I had to unwillingly accept the fact that Chinese kung fu is fake." Lu Chao lamented earnestly. "We can't just live in our imaginary world. Since boxing proved to be amazing, why not learn it? Why don't you take some time to come over in the future? I'll teach you for free so that you can have more options in your future missions. Shu Nan was slightly moved. She had always felt that women should be on equal footing with men, fueling her pursuit for strength. A delighted smile immediately appeared on Lu Chao's face. Once Shu Nan came by daily, then things were pretty much settled. To get her from that point would be an easy feat. He turned to look at Yi Lingchen, then took on the tone of a senior lecturing his juniors. People need to learn from the strength of others. Admitting the failure of Chinese kung fu is not shameful. The right way is to learn the strengths of foreigners. Brother, if you're interested in learning boxing, I'll give you a 20% discount. No thanks, Yi Lingchen replied indifferently, shaking his head. Lu Chao shot a cold look at Yi Lingchen. Brat, to hell with your arrogance. If not for Shu Nan, I would not even look at you. Damn, Director Li, you're trying to recruit Ali the boxing champion? Li Jing was stunned when he saw Ali. Li Tai nodded bitterly. I've heard from others that as the boxing champion, Ali can be our spotlight in our movie. I only thought of trying my luck. No wonder this boxing gym is fearsome. The one running the show is the former boxing champion. Sister Lin too took in a gasp of cold air. She dared not look directly at Ali as it was too terrifying for her. Now this is difficult. Ali would not be easy to recruit. Li Jing's face darkened. He mentioned that he wants to try out Chinese kung fu, but who would be able to face him off? The underground arena tournament was meant for challenges between boxing gyms. It was also a weekly assessment for Inferno Boxing Gym to showcase their matches to the public, functioning as an advertisement and an income source. Once the judges entered the ring, it signified the start of a match. The entire arena entered a crazed state. When they saw two well-built boxers slowly making their way to the ring, the foreigners stood up excitedly, screaming at the top of their lungs. Very quickly, the match began. The two big and strong boxers exchanged blows, which visually looked impressive. Each punch was backed with strength and accompanied by sounds of snapping wind which instilled fear into the crowd. Bang, bang, bang. With each solid hit, muffled sounds could be heard. That's too much violence. Xiao Feifei and the others could not bear to watch. Roar. Get him. Don't just defend. Counter, counter. Nice punch, continue. The foreigners instead, were getting riled up as they watched, cheering madly. They're extremely particular about their diet. Their constant training allowed them to develop all those muscles. Their endurance is excellent too and they can take multiple hits. Moreover, their punches were trained hundreds and thousands of times. Each punch was executed meticulously. Lu Chao analyzed for Shu Nan, flexing his sense of superiority in front of her. This round, the left corner should be the victor. The right corner lost his advantage right from the start and is being suppressed all the while. The left corner is instead gaining momentum. Furthermore, his punching speed and power are well polished through practice. He's a tough one. As expected, soon after he finished speaking, the left corner claimed victory after flooring his opponent with a well-placed hook. An uproar of cheers broke out immediately. Following that, the second match, third match. What do you think? How does this compare to the so-called Chinese kung fu? Lu Chao asked Shu Nan. Shu Nan pursed her lips, giving no reply. An average person's understanding of Chinese kung fu was limited to TV screens. Although they look awesome, it was obviously faked. Now that she witnessed the foreign art of boxing personally, it did carry a bigger impact. Hee hee, you're in luck today. There's another round later, Lu Chao said meaningfully and laughed. Another round? Muhammad Ali had always been interested in Chinese kung fu. He's taking part personally as he received an invitation recently. He paused for a moment, then continued, it'll serve to help you see the gap between Chinese kung fu and boxing. Shu Nan immediately snapped to attention. Did someone issue a challenge to Ali? Following the end of the last match, the MC did not end it there but instead waited quietly in the ring. Thud, thud, thud. A resounding sound accompanied each step. The sound carried an indescribable strength and presence, causing everyone's heart in the hall to pump wildly. Ali followed the steps into the ring. He looked like a human-shaped monster, sending tremors throughout the ring. FCK. Ali got on the stage. What's he doing? Is he participating? Ah, Ali's finally boxing again. Oh no, I'm getting too excited. I need to calm down. After a brief silence, everyone boiled over with passion and stood straight up. Ali, Ali, Ali. Everyone chanted along, as though on a religious pilgrimage. Their echoes filled the hall. Ali stood in the center of the ring. He raised his hands slightly, causing all the noise to quiet down as the crowd focused on him quietly. I came to China in hopes to promote boxing, to help all Chinese to appreciate the strength and allure of boxing, Ali said with a deep hoarse voice. However, when I arrived here, I heard about Chinese Kung Fu. Over here, everyone worships that so-called Kung Fu. Although I've heard rumors of Chinese Kung Fu, I've never had the chance to witness it for myself. As for those so-called martial artists that I met, they were weak. My disappointment with Chinese Kung Fu had since grown. I can't help but ask, is Kung Fu in China real? If there were Kung Fu, how does it fare against boxing? The hall was quiet, everyone listening intently. The more they listened, the darker Li Tai and the company's faces grew. They could barely make out Ali's intention. However, Ali continued with a resounding voice, I finally found the answer. Chinese Kung Fu is inferior to boxing. 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 All the foreigners ignited in cheers, screaming at the top of their lungs. Their voices grew with each passing wave. Some Chinese people were also shouting along with flushed faces, including Lu Chao. The remaining Chinese in the audience felt helpless and indignant. Damn it! That's going overboard. Li Jing held a firm fist. His eyes showed signs of the humiliation he felt. A group of foreign monkeys are trying to lord around here in China? Morons, the martial arts stuntman added disgruntledly. They had learned Chinese Kung Fu and had a natural reverence towards it. It was a kind of heritage. Nonetheless, that heritage was being mocked by foreigners. They did not take well to that. Boxing is the best. Ali's expression was fierce. He smiled viciously, then waved at one of the boxing instructors. That boxing instructor was the one that had the best performance earlier. He quickly got on the ring. Ali's face darkened, then made a full-forced punch in a frenzy. Bang! Even though the instructor defended himself, he was still sent flying out of the ring by the forceful blow. Chinese Kung Fu. It's no match for my fist. Ali raised his hand high. With the roaring cheers and screams from below the ring, he looked like a king. There's a Chinese director that wants me to take part in his movie, to showcase Chinese Kung Fu, to show that our boxing is no match for Chinese Kung Fu. Is that possible? Impossible. Impossible. All the foreigners puffed up, screaming their unacceptance. Right now, if you can impress me with the strength of Chinese Kung Fu, I'll agree to shoot your movie. Ali's gaze fell upon Li Tai, mocking at him. Do you dare to come into the ring now? At that moment, the entire hall had their eyes focused on Li Tai's direction. When the foreigners saw the Chinese in their small frames, they had a look of condescension on their faces, booing the Chinese party. Ali raised his hand, provocatively signaling for them to approach, come in the ring. Li Jing's expression was dark. His breathing became heavy, staring Ali dead in the eye. After a deep break, he walked onto the ring. Chinese Kung Fu has been passed down for thousands of years. Even your country had many that were taught a lesson by Chinese Kung Fu. Although it rarely shows itself to the world, it is not something you can mock as you like, said Li Jing coldly. You know Chinese Kung Fu, don't you? Come, let us have a look, Ali sneered. HMPH. Ali called us here just to find a chance to humiliate Chinese Kung Fu. Li Tai harumphed in a hoarse voice, an extremely ugly expression painted across his face. Although there were few Chinese people under the ring, they still unwittingly gripped their fists tightly. That's Li Jing, right? I hear that he grew up in the Shaolin Temple and knows real Kung Fu. Will Li Jing be a match for Ali? This is vexing. Chinese Kung Fu is the best. We must show those foreigners who's boss. Please, said Li Jing as he assumed his pose. Bring it on. Ali replied in a carefree manner. A look of rage flashed across Li Jing's eyes. He placed his fist together in a bow, then placed a foot in front of him and shot forward like a knocked arrow. He bounced off the ground with his fist rising upwards straight at Ali. That punch shot out in a flash, expertly utilizing the strength from his entire body. Like a fearsome tiger breaking out of its cage, it shocked the audience below the ring. The corner of Ali's mouth curled into a contemptuous smile. When the first almost reached him, he effortlessly raised his palm. Slam! His huge palm easily caught hold of Li Jing's fist. Li Jing's expression turned dark in an instant. He then lowered his body, launching a kick upwards. His knee aimed straight for Ali's chest. pressing the attack like a continual storm. However, that kick was also effortlessly blocked by Ali's arms. Following that, he lifted Li Jing like a chick and chucked him aside, throwing him out of the ring instantly. A sense of helplessness took over Li Jing as he felt his heart falling into a pit. When faced with Ali, he felt like a child being toyed with. Even if he managed to hit him, it would not cause much damage. The difference in their physiques was too much. Good, countless foreigners in the audience cheered out loud. Some of them even whistled along. Chinese kung fu is trash, hee hee, you're too weak. Ali laughed lightly. Is this the so-called Chinese kung fu? The Chinese in the crowd all took on a bitter expression. Li Jing and company had naturally heard of the rumors where Li Jing was the once famed martial artist celebrity. Most importantly, he practiced real kung fu, yet his kung fu was nothing in front of Ali, as though everything was just a facade. Was Chinese kung fu that weak? He bit his lips, feeling his resolve shaken. Ali took 2 steps forward, looking down at Li Jing with his towering form. I'll stand right here. If you can push me back, I'll agree to your request. The insolent voice conveyed his contempt towards Li Jing. Not only you. Your friends can come into the ring too. You just need to push me back. Silence took over the hall. The Chinese were stunned, whereas the foreigners were enjoying the entertainment. That's too much, Li Tai trembled in rage. That was not just humiliating them, it was humiliating their country's heritage. The other 3 martial arts stuntmen exchanged glances, then gritted their teeth and got in the ring. 4-on-1. It was unfair, but Li Jing had no other choice. Ha, come. Ali laughed maniacally, glaring at the 4 like a tiger. Go! The 4 rushed out at the same time, splitting up and attacking each of Ali's limbs from 4 different directions. They used various techniques. One focused on kicks, the other on grappling, while Li Jing used his fists. He brought out his signature move, carrying with it the pride of Chinese kung fu. They could not afford to be looked down upon by the foreigners regardless of the consequences. Bang, 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 4 separate sounds could be heard. All their attacks landed on Ali, but he did not budge an inch. Weak. Too weak. Is this the strength of Chinese kung fu? Ali laughed coldly. He swung his limbs, immediately sending all 4 of them flying. What a waste of time. He shook his head. If I knew you guys are such pushovers, I wouldn't even have to do this myself. Li Jing and the 3 looked downcast. I didn't expect the boxing champion to be this strong, Li Tai muttered as he sat limply on his chair, his eyes filled with dread. He was too strong, on an entirely different level. He had seen Li Jing and the other 3 stuntmen's kung fu. Although they could not walk on walls or take flight, they were much stronger than the average human. They might even be comparable to the special units. They had a wide variety of techniques, but none of them did anything to Ali. Their expertise was toppled by overwhelming strength. Ali overwhelmed them completely. How can that man be this strong? Xu Nan was similarly stunned. Li Jing's group attack was by no means weak, however, it did not go past Ali's defenses. Furthermore, the strength of 4 men was simultaneously outmatched by Ali. Just how strong was he? That was too terrifying, hee hee. I've said this before. Chinese kung fu is only for show. It's complete trash before boxing. Lu Chao laughed. Ali did not even take action. If he acted, he would only need 1 punch. Do you think those 4 would be able to withstand it? Ali, England's pride, Chinese kung fu is trash. All the foreigners in the hall were cheering while many Chinese kept silent. Ali's strength was deeply imprinted into their minds. Unless a martial arts expert like those from the movies appeared, who else could defeat the former boxing champion? Did such a person exist? Could Chinese kung fu be trained to such a level? That was almost impossible. Should we give Yi Lingchen a call? Sister Lin asked. Li Tai sighed, then shook his head. Even if we ask young Mazer Yi over, it won't be of any help. It's my ignorance and lack of consideration. The boxing champion was too strong and prideful. The chances of recruiting him were almost non-existent. Although Yi Lingchen also knew kung fu, Li Tai did not think that he would be a match for the boxing champion. We'll just tell him it got rejected and think of some other ways. There are plenty of foreigners in China anyway, Xiao Feifei suggested. It was better to not let Yi Lingchen learn of this humiliating incident. Chinese kung fu is not trash, Li Jing shouted word by word as he slowly climbed back up from the floor. Ali looked at him with interest. Although you have defeated us, that's because we're not well versed in our arts. We only skimmed the surface from the depths of our Chinese kung fu. You're only being insolent because you've not met a true expert, Li Jing continued. He could not tolerate others looking down on Chinese kung fu. A true expert? Ali showed a conceited smile. You Chinese just love to brag. Where's the expert? I've been in China for so many years and I have yet to meet a person that could withstand one of my punches. All you can do is brag, to produce a movie like Huo Yuanjia to deceive yourself when in fact, Chinese kung fu is just a piece of sh*t. If you don't agree, feel free to challenge me anytime. I'll take you on. This is a statement from me, Ali. Ali stood there unmoving like a stiff pole. His sound resounded in the ears of the audience. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, silence. Nobody said a word as they were overwhelmed by Ali's presence. That was a letter of challenge issued by boxing towards Chinese kung fu. Does China have someone that can defeat the boxing champion? You think this is a novel? How can such fantasy be possible? Sigh, is Chinese kung fu that weak? The Chinese felt resigned while the foreigners were cheering with pride. Shu Nan, I know this is cruel, but reality itself is cruel, Lu Chao said to Shu Nan, who looked a little lost. Chinese kung fu had deep roots. Regardless of it being real or fake, it had already become part of the Chinese belief and pride. When that pride falls apart in front of them, it had a significant impact on their psyche. Chinese kung fu is not something for you foreigners to mock. A voice cut through the air suddenly. In the vision of Shu Nan and others like her, Yi Lingchen slowly rose from the crowd. All eyes in the hall instantly snapped over and focused onto him. Are you nuts? Sit down quickly. Shu Nan's expression changed to that of horror, as she quickly whispered a reminder to him. What's up with this guy? Why did he stand up all of a sudden and said such idiotic words? Is Chinese kung fu something you can get involved in? Furthermore, this place is filled with foreigners. Do you realize that your actions are attracting their ire? He's the boxing champion. You've seen what happened. Stay low, don't tell me you're trying to fight him, are you? Shu Nan added. She felt that Yi Lingchen was a hot-headed person that could not assess the situation properly. However, at that moment, Muhammad Ali's gaze had already turned to them. That gaze was one that belonged to the strong, one that others would not dare look at. Lu Chao looked at Yi Lingchen, shaking his head and smiled mockingly. This kid is still too young. So naive. What's this about Chinese kung fu is not to be humiliated. Just who do you think you are? What gives you the right to say such words? Yi Lingchen suddenly became the center of attention in the hall with everyone's eyes on him. It's young Master Yi. Li Tai had naturally noticed Yi Lingchen, so young Master Yi was already here. What's Yi Lingchen doing? Xiao Feifei looked worried. Since he knows kung fu, I'm afraid he won't look away from Ali's provocations. Li Tai made a worried sigh. Martial artists have their own pride too. Will he be a match for the boxing champion? Xiao Feifei bit her lips. She wanted to stop Yi Lingchen but held back in the end. Meanwhile, Shu Nan held onto a corner of Yi Lingchen's shirt. Yi Lingchen, calm down. That's the boxing champion. Don't tell me you're thinking of going up there, are you? Hey kid, you should choose the right place to cause a scene. Let me remind you that this is an arena. If you die or get disabled, nobody will be responsible for that. If you're trying to be a porcelain bumper, this is not the place for you, Lu Chao said mockingly. Yi Lingchen looked at Shu Nan and smiled at her. I do intend to get on the ring. Just watch. Chinese kung fu is very strong. With that, he placed his hands behind him and walked slowly towards the arena. Shu Nan looked at Yi Lingchen's back, suddenly dazed. She felt as though she was looking at a grandmaster. In the meantime, Lu Chao was snickering in his heart. Twerp, just continue showing off. After bragging, you'll have to face the consequences. Yi Lingchen walked slowly as the people in the hall could not help but stand up. They looked at him and backed away like a receding shoreline, clearing a path for him. Regardless of nationality, they all looked at him in amazement as though he was a crazy person. This kid is clearly a student. He probably won't even be able to hurt Ali's fingers. Meanwhile, a number of Chinese audience members looked at Yi Lingchen respectfully. No matter what happened, Chinese kung fu was not something the foreigners should humiliate. Yi Lingchen went on the ring one step at a time at a moderate speed. He did not put on a flashy show and instead behaved just like a normal person. Why young Master Yi? Li Jing watched Yi Lingchen walking past him. His throat trembled involuntarily, showing a guilt-ridden expression. I brought shame to Chinese kung fu. It's fine. Your performance was quite good. Yi Lingchen smiled, then walked straight towards the center of the ring. He stared Ali straight in the eye with a calm and collected gaze, showing no signs of fear. At that moment, he changed nothing, but to the audience, something changed. Ali was tall and strong. When Yi Lingchen stood next to him, he should look small in comparison. However, at that moment, Yi Lingchen gave off a strong presence. That presence made him look bigger, matching up to the boxing champion. He was too calm, as though the person standing in front of him was not the boxing champion, but an average person. Where did that confidence come from? Ali stood on the same spot, measuring up Yi Lingchen. He frowned slightly. By the looks of it, Yi Lingchen's physique should pose no threat to him. Furthermore, his body was just average. He was unlikely to be trained from the lack of muscles on him. He was just a normal university student that most likely have problems with regular fights, much less fighting in an arena. How reckless is it because I haven't boxed for quite a while and turned soft that these weaklings think that I'm a pushover? Director Li Lingchen. He'll be fine, right? Asked Xiao Feifei, who was biting on her lips. Relax. I'll rush up there at the first sign of trouble. I won't let anything happen to young Master Yi. Li Tai answered seriously, staring intently at the ring. Li Jing and the rest are nearby too. They will act accordingly. Xiao Feifei nodded. Ali stared at Yi Lingchen, finally announcing coldly, "Kid, this arena is not a place for you to play. You may lose your life. This is my final warning for you. Get out of here now." He had been through countless battles. With his presence condensed into a single point, an average person would be badly intimidated even if he did not take any action. Nonetheless, Yi Lingchen remained calm, saying, "I believe you have not seen the real Chinese kung fu. That's why you dare to act so insolently. An ignorant person like you is fearless." Those words immediately sent the crowd in an uproar. Even Li Tai's eyes popped wide and stood up uneasily. Yi Lingchen's bravado was too much. That was no different from asking for death. FCK. Who is that Chinese kid? Is he looking for death? He's provoking the boxing champion. We must teach that kid a lesson. Boxing champion, crush him, beat him up. The foreigners howled with rage while the Chinese gave Yi Lingchen a worried look. As Ali's eyes narrowed, a chill burst forth from him. That was a show of his anger. I don't make a habit of bullying the weak, but that doesn't mean that weaklings can behave insolently in front of me. Ali moved his body. Sounds of cracking joints could be heard coming from all over his body. His lumbering body moved towards Yi Lingchen. "Show me your moves." Yi Lingchen calmly replied, "I will stand right here. If you can make me take even half a step backward, it's my loss. If I act, you might die from this fist." Rustle. Everyone rubbed their ears, fearing that they may have misheard. The similarity between Yi Lingchen and the boxing champion's tone was uncanny. They both stood still waiting for the other to act. However, Muhammad Ali's words sounded convincing while Yi Lingchen's words felt like a joke. This person must be crazy. Not only the foreigners, but even Li Tai's party were also similarly stunned. Cough, cough, cough. Xiao Feifei coughed hard due to the stress, her face turning pale immediately. As she recalled Yi Lingchen's appearance when he went on the stage, he gave off a feeling of a warrior going on a suicide mission. He did so for Chinese kung fu, valiantly going forward in face of death. "Since you're looking for death, don't blame me now." Ali's expression darkened. His temper was explosive to begin with. Faced with the repeated provocation, his patience had run out. With that, he took a step forward and grabbed Yi Lingchen's shoulder. Like an eagle snatching at a chick, he could simply pick Yi Lingchen up and throw him off the ring. Within China, he had to watch his actions, not daring to cause death. However, it was still within his limits to torture and mock Yi Lingchen. Nonetheless, just as his hand touched Yi Lingchen's shoulder, he was baffled. Yi Lingchen's body had seemingly melded with the entire arena, rooted in it. No matter how hard he pushed, Yi Lingchen would not budge. At that moment, a sense of helplessness took root in Ali's heart, feeling as though it was impossible to move Yi Lingchen. Ali's expression focused, looking at the calm young man in astonishment, feeling bewildered. Ali. Below the arena, the foreigners were oblivious to what happened. They howled and cheered in a craze, looking forward to Yi Lingchen being thrown out of the arena. As time passed, the cheers faded away and the crowd had a surprised look on their faces. What's happening? Why did Ali stop moving? Ali, don't hold back. Show him the power of a boxing champion. That's right. Teach that kid a lesson. As nothing happened after some time, the foreigners could not help turn rowdy. Weak. So this is the extent of a boxing champion's strength. The quiet voice echoed through the hall, causing everyone's heart to skip a beat as they stared in astonishment. Those insolent and arrogant words, it came from the young man? You're asking for it. Ali's face turned red and roared viciously. The muscles on his entire body suddenly pulsated as though it gained sentience, to the extent that someone would hear the sound generated by the pulsating muscles in a quiet environment. At that moment, Ali's presence continued to grow. His body seemed to have grown a tad bigger. The boxing champion is angry. That kid is dead. This punch will be the full strength from the boxing champion by utilizing the strength from all the muscles on his body. Before he retired, he used this punch to pulverize the fist of his opponent. That's terrifying. This is his maximum power. If that hits, it will be unimaginable. Yi Lingchen's brows twitched slightly. You managed to train your muscles to pulsate to your will to this extent. Not bad. However, boxing techniques and Chinese kung fu are still too far apart. Today, I'll let you experience it. With that, Yi Lingchen threw a punch as well. His fist seemed to devoid of strength, moving forward in a light and floaty manner. Nonetheless, it gave others a feeling that everything was within his control. Bang! Both the fists collided. A heavy, dulled sound could be heard. Ali felt a burning wave surge into his body from Yi Lingchen's fist. Faced with that strength, he was like duckweed in the sea, floating with the currents. Thunk, thunk, thunk. He has pushed over 3 meters away. He looked up in horror, staring at Yi Lingchen, who did not budge an inch. Monstrous. The sweat glands on his entire body loosened up. In that instant, he felt that his life was threatened, as though his life was within Yi Lingchen's grasp, capable of snuffing him out at any moment. Crack. At the same time, the pillar behind Ali made a cracking sound, that burst into pieces. Yi Lingchen slowly retrieved his fist, then looked at Ali quietly. Should we go on? The hall went silent. Be it Ali on the rain, or the foreigners and Chinese below the rain. They were all scared stiff, at a loss for words. That was only from one punch. Although that punch did not harm Ali, its strength was sufficient to shake everyone to their core. You might die from this fist. Yi Lingchen's words were still echoing in their heads, but this time it seemed so much clearer and ringing. It was clear to see that Yi Lingchen had held back, or else, he might die. Was that Chinese kung fu? Was that a strength that humans could possess? Most importantly, Yi Lingchen had only thrown a light and feeble punch, one that seemed to carry no weight behind it, as carefree as slapping a mosquito. Xu Nan's mouth was slightly ajar, at a loss for words from the shock. Xiao Feifei's beautiful eyes were wide open, finally letting out a sigh of relief, looking at Yi Lingchen with a mixture of shock and joy. Lu Chao, on the other hand, lost control of his body, shaking uncontrollably, and looked at Yi Lingchen in terror. Recollections of how he acted in front of Yi Lingchen caused him to break out in cold sweat. Is that Chinese kung fu? Oh my god, this is crazy? The foreigners felt their worldview crumble before them. They were all shocked beyond words. Yi Lingchen stood there with his hands behind his back, showing no emotions. To him, defeating the boxing champion was just an ordinary thing. With his 8 extremities brute training and Arhat fist force, his fighting ability had already reached the upper limits of humanity. From the moment he obtained the Prodigy system, he was destined to be different from other humans. I didn't expect you to be this amazing. Xu Nan looked at Yi Lingchen with twinkling, star-like eyes as he approached. This time you really helped bring glory to our country. Yi Lingchen laughed, then casually took a glance at Lu Chao, who was standing nervously at the side. He then left without sparing any words with these people that blindly chased after foreign culture and neglected their own. Young Master Yi. Li Tai quickly approached him. He gave Yi Lingchen a complicated look and finally realized that his prior knowledge of Yi Lingchen's identity was but the tip of the iceberg. He could be described as a transcendent being. With the power beyond mere mortals in his hands, any title bestowed on him would be like a passing cloud. Thud! A sound came from the arena all of a sudden. Muhammad Ali's towering body knelt before Yi Lingchen, his eyes glued onto Yi Lingchen's back. Thank you for not killing me. Today I've seen the real Chinese kung fu and finally realized that I'm but a frog in the well. I begged China's master to take me as a disciple, teach me kung fu. With that said, kowtowed hard on the arena floor 3 times, resulting in 3 loud knocking sounds. We too are willing to learn Chinese kung fu. Master, please teach us. Many English folks started to speak using their accented Chinese together. Although it was only 1 punch, Chinese kung fu had made its impression on all of them, leaving an unforgettable mark behind on their hearts. Chinese kung fu was destined to once again make itself known to the world. Director Li, you go tell Ali that if he wants to learn Chinese kung fu, he'd have to join Huo Yuanjia's crew. Following that, he immediately left the underground arena. Sister Feifei, why are you here too? After he got out of the underground arena, Yi Lingchen gave Xiao Feifei a strange look. Why? Are you surprised? Xiao Feifei rolled her eyes at Yi Lingchen. You didn't even look for me recently, did you forget about me? How is that possible? Sister Feifei is so beautiful, it's impossible for me to forget you, Yi Lingchen said with a smile. Lately I've nothing much to do. I heard that you've run into some trouble, so I followed Director Li over to have a look, said Xiao Feifei. Following that, she coughed lightly a few more times. You're sick? Yi Lingchen's brows twitched. He then only realized that Xiao Feifei looked exhausted. Her eyes were droopy and she seemed fatigued. Feifei is not feeling well and rejected all her recent projects, explained Sister Lin with a hint of worry in her voice. It's just a minor cold. I've already seen the doctor and was prescribed some medicine. It's nothing to worry about. Xiao Feifei waved it off with a smile. Don't you worry about it. Huo Yuanjia is screening soon. That's more urgent. Yi Lingchen took a careful look at Xiao Feifei's condition, and finally relaxed when he saw the symptoms were that of the common flu. At the same time, he was touched. All the while, Sister Feifei was worried about him. After a brief moment, Li Tai brought Ali along with him. Upon seeing Yi Lingchen, Ali immediately bowed at him. If not for Yi Lingchen holding back in the arena, he would have been dead. As a boxing champion, he pursued and worshipped strength. At that moment, his heart was filled with respect for Yi Lingchen. I've looked down on Chinese kung fu previously due to my ignorance. I have sinned, Ali stated. O great master, let this disciple pay his respects. With that, he immediately got down to kowtow towards Yi Lingchen. However, just as he tried to lower himself, he was held up by Yi Lingchen. His body weighed at least 300 kgs. Add to that the strength he exerted in his movements. Yet he was easily held by Yi Lingchen. That once again surprised him. That strength was unbelievable. I don't accept disciples, Yi Lingchen said calmly, but I'll provide some guidance when I'm free. Thank you, master. Ali nodded in full seriousness. Although Yi Lingchen did not accept Ali as a disciple, to Ali, he was still the master. Yi Lingchen, you must teach me too. Shu Nan immediately called out eagerly beside him. It's really difficult for a beautiful young woman like myself to take on missions. You won't hold back from teaching me, right? Young Master Yi, I want to learn too. Li Jing blurted out after swallowing that lump in his throat. Yi Lingchen was lost in his thoughts for a moment, then smiled at them. I can teach you, but it would be up to yourselves to keep up and understand the teachings. As the saying went, a teacher shows the path, the student travels it. Naturally, Yi Lingchen would not supervise their training daily. All of it would depend on their own self-discipline. Today I'll only teach you one move. Work hard on it. I'll only teach you the second move after you pass. Having said that, Yi Lingchen did not mind having others around him and started showing the first move of 8 extremities brute training. Yi Lingchen already gave it some thought before this. 8 extremities brute training was more well-rounded as it could raise the body's endurance. Although it was not as destructive as the Arhat fist force, it was much easier to teach. Those moves were extremely demanding on the body. At first, Li Tai and the others were watching out of curiosity, but when they saw his posture, they immediately gave up. Only Li Jing, Shu Nan, and Ali managed to barely complete the moves. Even then their posture was flawed, to which Yi Lingchen pointed out one by one. You guys train well. Whoever masters the first moveset can come to me for the second moveset. Okay. The 3 of them answered at the same time. They exchanged looks, eyes filled with fighting spirit and competitiveness. Shu Nan and Li Jing were going wild with excitement. That was the moment they were closest to Chinese kung fu in all their life. Muhammad Ali was similarly stoked. Although it was only one move set, it was already sufficient for him to practice on. Chinese Kung Fu was truly amazing to have come up with such a training posture. It was only one move, yet it benefited him greatly. Following that, with the cast all set, they could get ready to film the last few scenes of the movie. The Kung Fu showcased in Huo Yuanjia was also similarly done in an arena. The situation was somewhat similar to what had happened that day. Due to that, they were able to easily get into character, making it easier to get a good shot. Yi Lingchen followed Shu Nan's car home after saying goodbye with everyone, finally arriving home. Looking at Yi Lingchen's back, Xiao Feifei could not hold it back anymore, coughing vigorously. This time, her coughs were a lot more strained and serious, taking a full minute before finally settling down. Even her pale face turned red from it. Feifei, why didn't you tell Yi Lingchen that you've been sick for half a month? Sister Lin quickly passed Xiao Feifei a glass of warm water and pills to ease her coughs. It's just the common flu, no need to make a scene out of it. Furthermore, Yi Lingchen is not a doctor. It would only needlessly worry him even if we told him, said Xiao Feifei softly while shaking her head. It's been half a month. It should have recovered by now, yet you're showing no signs of improvement. Is this really the common cold? Sister Lin asked defiantly. Xiao Feifei's condition worsened with each passing day, causing her to worry. Why are you doing so much for him? He's already accepted a beautiful woman as a disciple just like that. Meanwhile, Yi Lingchen sat speechlessly in Shu Nan's car. Along the way, Shu Nan had not stopped talking, chattering away, showcasing her surprisingly upbeat personality, shooting off questions continuously. Master, was that inner strength that you used in the arena? Master, China has varying sects, right? Which sect are we? Master, what kung fu are we training? It should have a very domineering name, right? Master, do we have any enemies? Is it some sort of hidden sect? Yi Lingchen regretted that he did not learn the skill to fall asleep under a second. He could only feign sleep and act like he heard nothing. Finally, they made it to Hill Spring Residences. Yi Lingchen got down the car quickly as though running for his life. Ring ring ring. Just as he was about to start typing, his phone rang. The caller ID showed it to be Song Qian. Why God, Panda's purchase has been completed. All their shares are now under your name, Song Qian announced eagerly the moment the call got through. Panda was amazingly cooperative as they sorely needed the funds. The arrangements were settled at an astonishing pace. A cold gleam flashed across Yi Lingchen's eyes. With his own streaming platform, it was time for him to start his counterattack. So, what should we do next? Song Qian asked. You're the expert in this field. What do you think? Answered Yi Lingchen with a laugh. Song Qian's heart tightened. He realized this was a test given to him by Yi Lingchen. Without any delay, he immediately presented his plan of action. Why God, you are our guarantee of popularity. I would like to use you to bring in recognition for Panda, said Song Qian. Met with silence on Yi Lingchen's end, he continued. Now that everyone knows that you've been banned, and Haiyu's actions triggered public dissent, if the news of you taking over Panda were to spread, it would cause quite a stir. After that, all we need to do is to operate smoothly and maintain our popularity. Although Song Qian made it sound simple, the execution was challenging. First of all was to promote the brand, then to operate smoothly. Which of those two were ever easy? At the moment he could only think of a rough framework. After all, he was just providing suggestions and was not the decision maker. He needed to see Yi Lingchen's attitude toward this. Your plan is workable. Yi Lingchen started with an affirmation, then said, let's spread the news of my takeover at Panda streaming tonight. Furthermore, add on another piece of information that I'll be live streaming tomorrow. Live streaming tomorrow? Song Qian was taken aback. He could not help but ask in a trembling voice, why God, would that be a little impatient? At the moment, streaming platforms were already in a difficult spot. Panda had just been purchased and should be in the early stages of stabilizing its operations. Why God was undoubtedly the core of that stabilization. At times like this, it would be best to bank on the sense of mystery and suspense. In other words, why God should not do a live stream this early. He should instead start it when he has another piece of promising work. You, have work ready. My work is ready. Just do as I say, Yi Lingchen said calmly. He paused for a moment before continuing, right, start by registering Why God to the platform. Ending the call, Yi Lingchen then completed his updates for the day before going to bed. 2 a.m. in the morning. That was the time where most night owls were at their most active. A lot of trending topics hit their peak during those times, then carried on until the next day. Right then, a piece of news sneakily began to blossom explosively. Little Zoo was a blogger. One of his favorite pastimes was to surf Weibo. He would try to grab hold of a piece of explosive news, then share it off to leech off its popularity. With that, he had already managed to gain a following of over 200,000 followers on Weibo. That night, he was looking through posts as usual. It was then that one particular post appeared before him. Why God might have bought over panda streaming. Below the post were some text and photos that seemed legit. According to one of the higher-ups in panda streaming, a mysterious rich guy offered tens of millions to purchase panda streaming, saving panda streaming from its death. According to an anonymous tip, that mysterious rich guy was Why God. Streaming, Why God, purchase, these three keywords caused Little Zoo's face to flush with excitement, his blood boiling with passion. He even silently shouted in his mind, FCK, 3 times. This will be a hit. It will definitely be a hit. Headlines. He might even make the headlines by writing on this Weibo update. He immediately shared that Weibo update and added some rousing words to it just to make it as eye-catching as possible. After that, he tagged all those within his team on Weibo. As a blogger, he had his own team. Although it was not comparable to those operated professionally, it was still very effective. Following that, he took out his phone and eagerly made a phone call. Hey, Butterfly, get up. Big news, explosive news. Our rise to fame depends on this. Get to work now. Little Zoo screamed all the way impatiently. Every second counted online. A piece of news could go viral in an instant. What news is it that got you this excited? Butterfly asked dreamily. Why God bought over panda. What? Butterfly snapped awake immediately and almost jumped off the bed. Why God's finally making a move? He even bought over panda? WTF? Enough with your WTF. Get to work now. Following that, he made more calls. Wild boar, get up and work. This time we're jumping onto the bandwagon. It'll be a hit. The next day, Weibo's hot search had gone nuts. The news of Why God buying over panda had reached the top, turning into the top searched news. In nearly one night, the comment section had exceeded 100,000 comments. FCK, 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 previous post, why are you copying my words? Other than FCK, I don't know any other words to express myself. Why God is amazing. Why God for the win. Is this news for real? Why God was being picked on by Huyu, and now he bought over a streaming platform to compete with Huyu? I'm finally hearing news from Why God again. I look forward to the new work. I'll support you. Ah, as expected of my Prince Charming, buying over a company just like that. Junior girl looking for a friend, 60 *******. When Yi Lingchen arrived in school, the atmosphere was lively along the way. A lot of students seemed excited. Have you read the news on Weibo? It's such big news. Of course I've read it. I had trouble sleeping yesterday and saw it first. At first, I thought it was just some rumors. I didn't expect it to be such a hit this morning. Nonsense. That's Why God. How can it not be a hit? I didn't expect Why God to be that rich, buying over panda on a whim. Fearsome. Do you think Why God can beat Huyu streaming after buying over panda streaming? Of course he can. He's Why. All the way to his class, those discussions kept floating by Yi Lingchen's ears. After entering the class, his classmates were even more excited. Boys and girls alike, all their discussions did not steer far from Why God. The little general trio were holding their phones discussing the topic enthusiastically in front of Yi Lingchen. Yeezy, Why God is making a move. Moreover, he's going big, buying over panda streaming. I knew it. All the whys are not simple. I have a feeling that Why God's counterattack is coming soon. Another streaming platform. Why God has his aim on Huyu now. The impact of the news went beyond Yi Lingchen's imagination, and it seemed to be getting out of control. However, the reason for it to cause such a stir was because of Y's influence. Nowadays, anything that touches Y would attract a lot of attention from the masses. Apart from that, Why God accumulated quite a number of listeners. Add to that Why God's persecution, and later banned by Huyu, had many people sympathizing with Why God. Most importantly was panda streaming's possibility to compete with Huyu. Watching a drama from the sidelines never got in the way of important matters. With both the streaming platform turning into mortal enemies, it naturally stirred debates from the masses. Ring ring ring. Finally, Cooled could not hold back any longer and gave Yi Lingchen a call. Why God, is the news about you buying over Panda streaming true? Hee, it's true. Cooled breathed in a mouthful of cold air. I didn't expect you to be so rich. So, would the great host Cooled be willing to come over to my platform for a spin? Yi Lingchen asked with a laugh. Sure. How's the benefits? That did not play out as Yi Lingchen imagined. Cooled agreed quickly with a laugh. Cooled's words stunned Yi Lingchen slightly. Really? Yi Lingchen wanted to know for sure. He was initially just kidding, but there was another, more fundamental aspect of a live stream, its host. Yi Lingchen believed that his abilities were sufficient to carry the entire platform. He could later train some capable hosts in the future. However, that was too time-consuming and laborious. Cooled was undoubtedly the leading female host in the Dota world. She had die-hard fans supporting her, and if she were to come over, Yi Lingchen would not need to worry that much anymore. Really, Cooled gave Yi Lingchen a resolute reply. After you left, my contract was almost expiring, but I didn't renew it. Yi Lingchen pursed his lips and kept quiet for a moment. This platform is too ruthless. I can't stay here, Cooled explained to herself, and then said, now that I'm out of a job, I wonder if Big Boss Y God is willing to take me in? That won't be a problem, of course, Yi Lingchen immediately said. What's your pay when you did live streams for Huyu? This platform is just starting out, so just count me as an ordinary host, Cooled said. We're friends anyway, and since we're having a hard time together, let's not talk about money. Hee, who told you I'm having hard times? Yi Lingchen chuckled. Will I be able to buy over Panda streaming if I'm poor? If you come to my platform, I'll make sure you won't be treated badly. Song Qian was surely aware of Cooled's treatment in Huyu. Yi Lingchen was prepared to offer her the same terms as before, which would be re-evaluated again when the live stream platform expands. He hung up, but his cell phone rang again not long later. Hey, brother Y God, you're a big boss now, right? Is it possible for you to help me? Wooer's adorable voice was heard through the phone. What's up? I'm unemployed now. Maybe I can try to make ends meet on your platform. Wooer asked pitifully. It's fine if you offer me the lowest basic salary, as long as I can put food on my table. Alright, quit pretending, your contract expired, too? Yeah. Wooer gritted her teeth and said bitterly, Hyu's live stream platform is a scam. And then there's that CU, I don't like it there. Okay, welcome to Panda Streaming. Next, Love Letter and O9 also contacted Yi Lingchen. They were ready to wait until their contract expired before shifting over to Panda Streaming. In addition to them, many hosts from Huyu surprisingly took the initiative to contact Panda Streaming. Although they did not have much of a reputation, they were hosts too. Panda Streaming lacked people and needed an influx of fresh talent. Some of those hosts were unable to get along with Huyu anymore. They could no longer make money and were ready to migrate to Panda Streaming to try their luck. They bet on Panda Streaming being a hit in the future even though the platform had only just started. Meanwhile, others simply could not bear to watch Hyu's way of doing things. They were concerned they might become expendable if they continued to stay there. In short, Panda Streaming's first step in publicity was a resounding success. However, immediately afterward, one of the microblogs in Weibo suddenly went viral, climbing up to first place at lightspeed. Y God's live stream will premiere on Panda Streaming tonight. The news was tantamount to pouring a can of gasoline on a fire and igniting everything in an instant. Y God is going to stream live tonight. So excited. I feel like I'm gonna see *M. What will Y God stream live this time? I'm so looking forward to it. Evening can't come soon enough. What a surprise. What a big surprise. I must support Y God. Panda Streaming? FCK. I'll download it now. At the same time, Wang Yuan's face was extremely gloomy behind the scenes at Huyu. His entire body trembled from immense anger, and he ordered in a hoarse voice, go and dig up Panda Streaming's current statistics. CEO Wang, I once said that Y God's ambitions were not small. My prediction is ringing true, Zhou Min remarked with a cold face. Humph. That two-timing Song Qian, to think that he's now going over to the Panda Streaming. His heart is set on going against us. Wang Yuan's eyes narrowed slightly. Did they think they were big enough to make any sort of difference? These two were cast aside by Huyu and they bought over Panda Streaming, which was on the verge of collapse. It's nothing but the last hurrah from them. Joe Min huffed. I bet that Panda Streaming will cease operations within 3 months. It was then that a behind-the-scenes staff member walked in with a form. There were traces of anxiety in his eyes. CEO Wang, this is the data from Panda Streaming. Wang Yuan quickly held up the data. One look was enough to make his mood sink. In just half a day, the number of downloads for Panda Streaming's app reached 80,000. Madness was the only word appropriate to describe that statistic. The most crucial piece of data for an app was the number of downloads. Those downloads basically represented an absolutely reliable user base. That was only half a day after Panda Streaming's emergence. Following that trend, Panda Streaming was surely in for a popularity explosion. Turning to the second page, Wang Yuan's breath was suddenly heavy, and his pupils were filled with anger. The data showed that many of Huyu Streaming's hosts had jumped ship to Panda Streaming. Among them were a few well-known hosts too. What's going on? Wang Yuan's voice was somber. There aren't any issues with how we treated them, right? Zhou Min glanced at Cu surreptitiously before saying, these hosts may think that Panda Streaming has great potential. They might simply be thinking of going over just to take advantage of the popularity. They're nothing but arrogant and ungrateful wretches. After Cu became their top female host, some strings were pulled and a group was formed to stifle some of the other hosts. Many of those who chose to leave suffered under Cu. Of course, it was obvious that Zhou Min would not speak about it. CEO Wang, the truth is, you don't need to worry, Zhou Min said nonchalantly. The reason why Panda Streaming became viral is because it has a few hyped-up aspects. However, the ultimate focus of a live stream is the host and their content. Panda Streaming has a much lower standard than us. Moreover, Why God's Grave Robbers Chronicles is still in our hands. Is anyone even able to surpass this kind of work? Wang Yuan's complexion finally improved somewhat. Huyu Streaming's insider knowledge was naturally unparalleled when compared to Panda Streaming. He flipped to the third page, but both his hands were shaking and he coughed violently. On the third page was the number of Huyu's emperors. At that moment, hundreds of emperors chose to take their emperor title and leave Huyu. It was obvious where they went. Those were all emperors. Surprisingly, those rich individuals that live stream platform catered to had chosen to leave at that exact moment. Why God charm was phenomenal. Wang Yuan felt fear for the very first time. He was secretly praying for Why God's live stream to be unspectacular. As the day went on, time ticked closer to Why God's live stream. The number of people waiting in front of the computer skyrocketed too. There was a huge banner recommendation promoting Why God's live stream on Panda Streaming's homepage. It occupied half the screen. The popularity had exceeded 500,000 even before the live stream started.